Hello, my dear friends. Welcome to Live Prep. Myself, Dr. Gajapati Verma. As I informed you earlier, under the name of Bootcamp, we are providing both revision lectures and also we are conducting test series. Revision lectures are available both on Live Prep app and also on YouTube channel. But the test series can be given only through the app. Now, in this video, we are going through the revision of chemical coordination and integration chapter. So please remember, here also we are going mostly ourselves with respect to NCERT content. But at some locations, I will give you some information that may be interlinking with different things. And not only this, here I made one flowchart so that 60 to 70% of this particular chapter will be covered in that particular flowchart. So repeatedly at the different locations, I will try to show up that and I will try to link up the information so that it will be easy for you. Okay, so now with this we will go with, but anyhow this basic information already under the heading of neural control and coordination we have studied. Coordination is mainly for the maintenance of the homeostasis. It is the normal functioning of the individual. Next one, coordination is the process through which two or more organs interact and complement the functions of one another. Yes, already these sentences we studied from neural control and coordination. There I have given the clear-cut explanation. For the coordination, there are actually total two systems are present. One is the neural system, other one is the endocrine system. Neural system is giving point-to-point rapid coordination among the organisms. This is correct and very good. But the thing is, not all the tissues and organs are innervated with the nervous system. So in those cases, what happens is, it is the endocrine system that is actually controlling those particular things. But please remember, anyhow, endocrine system is also under the control of neural system. How? Because at the top of the endocrine system, we are talking about the hypothalamus. But technically, hypothalamus is part of the brain. So in this way, brain is even controlling the endocrine system. So that's why it is the master regulator. Clear? So this is what they are saying. So even the neural system is having point-to-point rapid coordination with majority of the organs, not all organs, with the majority of the organs. But this is fast but short-lived. So that's why there is a necessary for another coordination system that is called as endocrine system. So both of them combinedly they are integrating all the functions so that they are coordinating the functions of all the organs. Clear? So in this way they are working in a synchronized fashion. This is what the basic information that they have given. So directly we are going with the main concept. Here we are talking about the endocrine glands and the hormones. And these endocrine glands are also called as ductless glands because these endocrine glands do not have the ducts. So then how these secretions will reach the target organs? This is a very simple and basic important point. So these endocrine glands, they are simply releasing the hormones to the tissue fluid that is surrounding them. So from the tissue fluid, now it is going into the blood and now is blood is getting circulated to all the organs. So when the blood is circulated to all the organs, now please remember carefully, these hormones, they are reaching all these organs, but they are not showing activity on all the organs. They are showing activity only on target organs. Then how these target organs are only able to respond? Because at the end of the chapter they have given about some hormone receptor complexes. Only target organs are having the corresponding receptors. That's why only target organs will respond to the hormones. Remaining organs will not respond to those hormones. In this way, hormone receptor complexes will play very significant role. In this way, hormones are showing activity on various other organs. In this way, they are controlling the activities of various other organs. This is what the overall information. Clear? And the secretions, the chemicals that are secreted by these ductless glands are called as the hormones. Clear? Next one. Here in the NCERT they give two definitions. One is the classical definition, another one is the scientific definition. What actually they are talking in the classical definition? Here they are saying that so hormones are the chemicals that are produced by the endocrine glands and released into the blood and transported to a distant location such as a target organ. So in this way, so these endocrine glands are some group of cells. They are some organized. Please remember, as for the classical definition, if you are talking, they are the organized glands. They are releasing their secretions into the surrounding fluid so that it is going into the blood, and through the blood now it is reaching the target organ. So in this way these chemicals are going. and that's why these are ductless glands. So this is the classical definition, but classical definition is not including some unorganized endocrine glands. Actually, they are not glands, they are some tissues and cells, individual cells, but this definition is not including them. So that's why we are talking about a scientific definition. Here what they are saying, hormones are non-nutrient chemicals. I will go word by word. What is the meaning of non-nutrient? Suppose you are eating some food. Ultimately, from that food is used as used for the nutrition, and we are getting some energy from that. Please understand this. So, what is the meaning of this non-nutrient chemicals means? So, these are not used for the nutrition purpose. These are not used for the energy purposes. So, that's why these are non-nutrient chemicals, and which act as intercellular messengers. Inter means what? Between the cells, because they are released by some cells and they are going and affecting on different other cells. So between the cells they are actually moving. That's why they are intercellular. Please understand these words. INTRA, intra means inside the cell. They are not just acting inside the cell, they are coming out of the cell and they are going to distant location, means far away distance, and there they are acting. That's why they are acting between the cells. Between means intercellular messengers. That's why when you are reading the options, you need to read the spellings with respect to inter and intra, because the meanings are completely different. So these are acting as intercellular messengers. Who is called as a messenger? Messenger is the one who is carrying information from one location to other location. That's why they are messengers, and are produced in a trace amounts. Trace amounts means very less quantity. So in this way they are produced in very less quantity. They are not used as nutrient molecules, and they are acting as intercellular messengers. Any such type of molecule can be called as a hormone. So here they are not talking about organized glands and unorganized cells or tissues. Yes or no? So that's why everything will come under these things. So in this way, now we are talking about the endocrine system and the organs. What are the various endocrine glands? What are some other unorganized tissues or the cells that are producing the hormones? All these things we will study. Now here in the case of invertebrates, very less number of hormones are present. It is not much developed like vertebrates. But in the case of vertebrates, different types of endocrine glands are there. Not only this, there are some unorganized cells are also there. They are producing various types of hormones, various types of chemicals called as hormones. This is what the information they have given. Then they are talking about what are the various examples for organized endocrine glands. In this diagram, whatever they have given, all these are organized endocrine glands. What are the examples? Hypothalamus, pineal gland, pituitary gland, thyroid gland, parathyroid gland, thymus gland, pancreas, adrenal glands. Okay, and next one, in the case of male, testes are present. In the case of female, ovaries are present. Yes or no? So these are some organized endocrine glands. Along with this, there are some diffused cells or unorganized tissues. They are also producing some hormones, and they are generally seen in gastrointestinal tract, and even the liver is also producing some types of hormones, but we are not studying much about this. And even the kidney also producing some hormones. One example they have mentioned in NCRT, and from heart also we are studying one example. So in this way, in the NCRT, at least one example they have given in NCRT. Whatever they have given in NCRT, only that much we are studying. We are not going anything out of NCRT. Okay, but at one or two locations for interlinking the concept, I am going little bit out of NCRT, just one or two examples, but I will anyhow link up these things and how exactly they are useful to solve the MCQs. That also I will tell you, because there is a scope and where generally students are making mistakes. That's why I have included those 2 points. That's it, but remaining information is from NCRT only. And first, under the organized endocrine glands, first we are talking about the hypothalamus. Before starting this, I am directly telling you, in the NCRT they have given only 2 names of hormones. They have given only 2 names of hormones, but here I give many names, but these are all interlinked with again pituitary gland. Please understand this. The hormones of this hypothalamus, again they are linked with pituitary gland. Anyhow, they have given the names in the pituitary. So since anyhow they have given the names in the pituitary, it is better to understand the names in hypothalamus itself, so that you can understand the relation, so that you can understand the complete picture, so that you can easily remember the information. And in the examination also, if they ask, you can easily answer these particular things. That's why I am telling you that though not mentioned in NCERT, I have given this. So please go through this. Don't skip this. Please go through this. Anyhow, I will tell you the relation also, so you can easily understand this. First, let us see about the hypothalamus, and already in the neural coordination we studied that hypothalamus is part of the forebrain. Yes or no? So now here also, with respect to the brain, anyhow there they have not mentioned, so that's why I did not explain you much. Simply please understand this. With respect to the brain, if you are talking, generally we are talking about prosencephalon called as forebrain, mesencephalon called as midbrain, rhombencephalon it is called as hindbrain. Again, within the prosencephalon, again two parts are there, telencephalon and diencephalon. And here they are using that particular name, diencephalon, which is actually part of the forebrain. So here they are saying that, so the basal part of the diencephalon, which is actually the part of forebrain, and this is actually developing into hypothalamus. This is what the information they have linked up. Better at least remember the NCERT sentence. If possible, try to remember this, or else leave it, no problem at all. Anyhow, mesencephalon in the midbrain, and in the rhombencephalon hindbrain, again two parts are there, metencephalon, myelencephalon. So these are the names that are related to this. And anyhow, this brain part is continuous with again spinal cord. So anyhow, this basic information we have studied, and these are some names that are related to the brain and all. And here at least diencephalon name they have given. Please try to remember this. Clear? Next one. And within this hypothalamus, anyhow, since it is part of the brain, and what type of cells are present here? Neurons are present. So that's why these are neurons. These are the neurons. But here, for the word neuron, they have added one more thing. What they are saying here? They are neurosecretory cells. They are the neurons. They are the neurons. They are producing some hormones, and these hormones are secreted by these cells. That's why they are using a term called as neurosecretory cells. So you can easily remember this. So several groups of neurosecretory cells called nuclei. This term nuclei, I told you. What is this term? When we are using the term nuclei, it is the group of cell bodies in the central nervous system. Already I told about these names, right? Group of cell bodies in central nervous system is called a nuclei. Group of axons in central nervous system is called as a tract, nerve tract. Yes or no? With respect to the peripheral nervous system, if you are talking, group of cell bodies is called as ganglion, and the group of axons is called as simply nerve. These names already I told you, and here also you can see they used a term called nuclei. It is the group of cell bodies in central nervous system. This is what they are saying. So several groups of neurosecretory cells called nuclei which produce the hormones. These are the ones. And in this diagram, this is the NCERT diagram. Now observe very carefully. Here two types of informations are there. This is also neurosecretory cell. This is also neurosecretory cell. But please observe carefully. This neurosecretory cell, it is producing some hormones. It is producing some hormones, and these hormones, these black dots, let us imagine that they are the hormones. And where they are released, observe carefully. This is the portal circulation. This is the portal circulation. Even labeling also they give. Which portal circulation? Already I told you about three names of portal circulations under body fluids and circulation chapter. Interlink the concepts. So what are these three? One is hepatoportal system or hepatic portal system. Second one is hypophyseal portal system. This is the hypophyseal portal system. And these two are present in human. Third one is renal portal system, but that is not present in the human. Already we studied about this information. Even in the revision part also, in the body fluids and circulation, I have covered this particular point. Those who have not covered that one, so please visit that. Please visit that. This is very important concept. So which portal circulation is this? Hypophyseal portal circulation. What is hypophysis? It is the pituitary gland. Pituitary gland is called as hypophysis. In the portal circulation, there is a connection between one organ and other organ. And here one organ, first one is the hypothalamus. From the hypothalamus, the blood circulation is going to it is the pituitary or hypophysis. Based on the two organ, we are giving the name. So that's why it is called hypophyseal portal circulation. Entirely this information I have discussed. Once again I am revising here. And this is the hypophyseal portal circulation. So what is the conclusion here? some neurosecretory cells, they are releasing the hormones into this hypophyseal portal circulation, so that along with the hypophyseal portal circulation, these hormones are coming and acting on anterior pituitary, or better word is adenohypophysis. Adenohypophysis. Yes or no? This is the adenohypophysis. So in this way, you just understand in the table, whatever the flowchart I made, so there also I will tell you. From the hypothalamus, some are coming and acting on this adenohypophysis of pituitary. So that now these hormones are again two types. Some are releasing hormones. If the releasing hormone is coming from this and acting on it, it will help in release of hormones from pituitary. If some hormones are called inhibitory hormones, if inhibitory hormone is coming and acting on it, it will stop the release of that particular hormone. So that's why for majority of these things you will study two hormones. Some are releasing hormones. If the releasing hormone is coming from hypothalamus, then only it is released from the pituitary. If the inhibitory hormone is coming from hypothalamus, it will be stopped from pituitary. So in this way, two types of hormones you are studying. So in this way, one part is like this. So hormones are released from hypothalamus into hypophyseal portal circulation, so that they are going and acting on adenohypophysis of pituitary. In this way, they are releasing and inhibitory, two types of hormones are present. This is one part. What is the second part? Some neurosecretory cells, originally they are belonging to the hypothalamus, but the axons of these neurosecretory cells are extended into this posterior pituitary or neurohypophysis. Understood or not? Why it is called a neurohypophysis? Because it is having the axons of neurons of this hypothalamus. Yes or no? That's why it is called as neurohypophysis. But please remember, originally these hormones are produced, means synthesized by this hypothalamus, but they are actually released from this neurohypophysis because they are produced by the neurons of hypothalamus, and then since they are extended to this posterior pituitary, when they are released from the posterior pituitary, they are released. So that's why when you are reading that particular sentence, you need to observe two important words. One is synthesized by. Synthesized by means hypothalamus. Secreted by. One is produced. Produced means synthesized by hypothalamus. Other one is released or secreted by. Released or secreted by posterior pituitary. So in this way, these words are very, very, very important. So in this way, this is the general information related to hypothalamus and pituitary, and this is the general relation between these two. So please understand this. We consider pituitary gland as master gland. Yes or no? Pituitary gland as the master gland, but this master gland is again under the control of hypothalamus, which is part of the brain. So in this way, nervous system is having direct connections to majority of the organs. So in this way, directly it is controlling, but some organs which are not directly controlled, and they are controlled by the pituitary, and this pituitary is again in turn controlled by hypothalamus. This is what the information is. This is what the overall idea that you need to understand from this diagram and from this information. Clear? I hope now we understood the basic idea. Now we will go one by one. And these hormones regulate the synthesis and secretion of pituitary hormones. What is the major function of these hypothalamic hormones? They will control. Control means they will tell whether it should be released or it should be stopped from the pituitary. So in this way, the hormones of hypothalamus are controlling this pituitary gland. This is what the basic idea they are saying here. So here these hormones of hypothalamic are two types. Some are called releasing hormones. When these hormones are going and acting on the pituitary, now they will stimulate release of particular hormone. That's why they are releasing hormones. Second one are inhibiting hormones. When these hormones are going from hypothalamus to pituitary, they will stop the release of hormones from the pituitary. In this way they are acting. So that's why they are of two types. And this is the overall chart. And if you understand this particular chart, so you can understand 60 to 70% of the NCERT information. Please remember, I did not stop just with hypothalamus and pituitary, and from this also what are released and where they are acting, and all these things I have given. And this slide I will show you several times in this particular video, so that once you are completing this particular video, you should be able to remember each and every point and how exactly they are related. Every information you need to remember. Clear? First I will go with the summary of this, And please remember, now we are talking about the hypothalamic hormones, but in the NCRT, just two examples they give. But please understand, you need to remember all these names. If you know these names, you can easily remember all the names of this pituitary. Anyhow, in the NCRT, they gave all the names of pituitary. So, you need to remember these names also. It is compulsory. So, please remember this. So, here in the names also, you will understand releasing hormone, inhibitory hormone. In this way, two types of hormones. First, we will see from the hypothalamus. First, we are talking about thyrotropin releasing hormone. Thyrotropin releasing hormone is produced by hypothalamus, and it is coming and acting on adenohypophysis. In the adenohypophysis, again two parts are there. First part is called as pars distalis. It is technically called as anterior pituitary, and the other part is called as pars intermedia. It is actually the middle part, but generally it is closely associated with this pars distalis. That's why combinedly it is called as adenohypophysis. And the other part is called as neurohypophysis. It is also called as posterior pituitary or pars nervosa. So in this way, in the pituitary gland, two parts we are studying: adenohypophysis, neurohypophysis. Within adenohypophysis, again two parts. One is pars distalis. It is also called as anterior pituitary, and the other one is called as pars intermedia. And the neurohypophysis is also called pars nervosa, also called as posterior pituitary. It is having different names. Is it clear? Now what you need to understand, just now I told you one diagram, right? So from the hypothalamus, there are some hormones through the portal circulation. Please remember all these hormones through the portal circulation, they are coming and acting on adenohypophysis, this part. So that from the adenohypophysis, they will stimulate the release of some hormones, inhibition of hormones. But there is a other part. From the hypothalamus, the axons of some neurosecretory cells are extended into this posterior pituitary. So from the posterior pituitary directly they are secreted. So that's why I have given the diagram like this. So please try to understand how exactly I made this particular one. So first we are talking about the first part, some releasing and inhibitory hormones that are released from the hypothalamus, and they are acting on anterior pituitary and pars intermedia. Okay, so what are these things? Directly I am going with the information, observe carefully. From the hypothalamus, thyrotropin releasing hormone is released, and now it is coming through portal circulation and acting on adenohypophysis. In this also it is acting on anterior pituitary specifically, so that what it will do, observe this aroma. And when this is coming and acting on it, now what happens? From this anterior pituitary, thyroid stimulating hormone will be released. What it is doing? Thyrotropin releasing hormone. What is this thyrotropin? That is nothing but thyroid stimulating hormone. So thyroid stimulating hormone, releasing hormone. When this hormone is acting on it, now it will release thyroid stimulating hormone. So now what happens? From the pituitary, thyroid stimulating hormone is released. Okay, now it is going into the blood circulation. Now it is going into the main blood circulation, and it is going, and finally it is acting on the thyroid gland. It is acting on the thyroid gland. Once it is acting on the thyroid gland, now what happens? Thyroid gland will start the production of T3 and T4. T3 is called triiodothyronin. T4 is called as tetraiodothyronin. It is also called as thyroxine. Yes or no? So in this we can understand the relation. So thyroid gland is releasing T3 and T4, but the release of these hormones is under the control of TSH produced from pituitary, and it is in turn under the control of TRH produced from hypothalamus. This is the relation. If you understand this relation, then you can easily interlink each and every point. This is what about one particular sequence. Now let us come to the other hormone. Hypothalamus is releasing another hormone, and this hormone is called as growth hormone releasing hormone. Who is actually producing growth hormone? Pituitary. And whether pituitary should release growth hormone or not, who will decide? Hypothalamus will decide. How? By releasing growth hormone releasing hormone. When this is also called as somatocrinin. This name was not given in NCRT, but remember this. When this growth hormone releasing hormone is acting on pituitary, now pituitary will start releasing growth hormone. And now this growth hormone will act on various organs, so that it will help in the growth and development of the body parts. So this is what the function of this particular hormone. Clear? Next one. Suppose this growth hormone release should be stopped. Now who will decide this? Again hypothalamus. Now hypothalamus will release A growth hormone inhibiting hormone, and it is also called as somatostatin. Remember this. At the end of this particular video, I made a separate information compilation. So there, three somatostatins I will talk. Three somatostatins I will talk. This is one somatostatin. So somatostatin produced from hypothalamus, and it is acting on pituitary. And what is its function? It will stop or inhibit the release of growth hormone. So this is helping in GHRH is helping in release of growth hormone from pituitary, but GHIH, also called as somatostatin, it is inhibiting the release of growth hormone. So in this way, some hormones are helping in release, some hormones are inhibiting the release. This is what they are talking. Clear? Come to the next one. Next one, hypothalamus is producing another hormone called as gonadotropin releasing hormone. It is simply called as GnRH. Gonadotropin releasing hormone produced by hypothalamus. Where it is acting? It is acting on anterior pituitary, and from the anterior pituitary, when this is acting on it, now what happens? Now it will start releasing follicle stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone. Follicle stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone. Here I will tell you in simple, but at the end of this particular chapter, when we are studying a complete list of hormones and the types, once again I will ask you this question, so please remember here. Here itself I am giving the answer. Follicle stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone, they are acting on the gonads of males and females. And many students, they are thinking that FSH and LH are steroidal. That is wrong answer. FSH and LH are protein hormones, all the hormones of pituitary gland and all the hormones of hypothalamus are protein hormones, are peptide hormones. They are not steroid hormones. So FSH and LH are also peptide hormones. They are not steroid hormones. Please understand this. Okay, GnRH is produced from hypothalamus and it is acting on anterior pituitary, so that anterior pituitary is releasing FSH and LH, and where they are acting, now they will come, and they are acting on both males and females are producing this. But with respect to males, what is the function of FSH? With respect to males, the function of FSH is it is involving in spermatogenesis. Please remember, follicle stimulating hormone helping in spermatogenesis in the case of males, but it is helping in growth of ovarian follicles in the case of females. So each hormone, so since they are specific to the sexes, so they are having different functions. Next one, luteinizing hormone. LH means what? Luteinizing hormone. And this luteinizing hormone in the case of males, it is helping in secretion of androgens like testosterone from Leydig cells. Leydig cells are also called as interstitial cells. Anyhow, separately under the testis we will study. Please understand these things. In the testis, what you will study? In the testis, you will study that Leydig cells, also called interstitial cells, they are helping in production of androgens or testosterone. That's what only you are studying. But for that production, here you need to link up this. It is the LH, luteinizing hormone, that is released from pituitary, that is important. This link also you need to remember. If you don't remember this particular link, there is no use in studying this particular flowchart. If you are studying in points individually, means if you are not able to interconnect this, then there is no use. You need to do this interlinking. This is what my aim is. That's why I made this particular one. So observe carefully. And if you feel that this is very, very important, definitely it is very important. So if you feel that it is very important, so please make a note of it. Please write this on a paper and please paste it somewhere in NCRT so that it will be easy for you. Okay. Next one. What is the action of this LH in the case of females? It is helping in the ovulation. Release of ovum means secondary oocyte from the Graafian follicle. That one. Not only this, this is also helping in the maintenance of corpus luteum. Yes or no? After the rupture of the Graafian follicle will develop into corpus luteum and that will be maintained. And these are some functions of this luteinizing hormone. This is what the information related to this GnRH and FSH. This is what the sequence is. Is it clear? Come to the next one. Hypothalamus is releasing a hormone called prolactin releasing hormone. When this hormone is acting on anterior pituitary, now the anterior pituitary will start the release of prolactin. And what is the function of this prolactin? Prolactin will act on the mammary glands so that it is helping in stimulation and production of the milk. Yes or no? Not only this, it is also helping in the development of the mammary glands also. Clear? This is what the function of this particular one. Next one, hypothalamus is releasing another hormone that is called prolactin inhibiting hormone. Prolactin inhibiting hormone is also called as a dopamine. Dopamine. If possible, try to remember this. Okay, when this hormone is acting on anterior pituitary, now the prolactin release will be stopped. So in this way, whether it should be released or it should be stopped, now that will be decided by the hypothalamus. So you can easily remember this. Next one, hypothalamus is releasing another hormone that is called as adrenocorticotropic hormone releasing hormone. Adrenocorticotropic hormone releasing hormone. When this hormone is acting on pituitary, pituitary will start the release of adrenocorticotropic hormone, ACTH, adrenocorticotropic hormone. So easily you can remember this. What is the function of this one? Adrenal gland cortex. Adrenal gland is having outer cortex and central medulla. So from the adrenal cortex, now what will be released? Now it will help in the secretion of glucocorticoids. So there you will study separately under the adrenal gland we will study, but you need to understand this sequence. So in this way it is helping in the release of this particular adrenocorticotropic hormone, so that it can act on the adrenal cortex, so that it can help in the secretion of glucocorticoids. Next one, come to the other one. Hypothalamus is releasing another hormone. This is called as melanocyte stimulating hormone releasing hormone. Melanocyte stimulating hormone is produced by pituitary and that is released for the stimulation of this particular hormone release. So this MRH is produced by the hypothalamus. When it is acting on this particular adenohypophyse, I am not saying anterior pituitary, adenohypophyse, in that also it is pars intermedia, because pars distalis and pars intermedia combinedly it is called as adenohypophysis. And please remember, from the pars intermedia only one hormone is released, that is the melanocyte stimulating hormone. That's it. So when melanocyte stimulating hormone releasing hormone is produced from hypothalamus, it acts on the pars intermedia, so that pars intermedia will release melanocyte stimulating hormone, so that now it will act on the melanocytes of the skin, so that it will help in the skin pigmentation. From the hypothalamus, if melanocyte stimulating hormone inhibiting hormone is coming, now MSH release will be stopped. That's it. So this is the only hormone that is produced from pars intermedia. These sentences were given in the pituitary, so you need to remember this. So in this way, these are the hormones that are released by the hypothalamus, and this is how they are acting on the pituitary. So this is how the pituitary is responding, and this is how pituitary is controlling the activities of various other glands. Understood or not? So this is what the information is. Anyhow, hypothalamus, for some of the neurons, axon is directly going into the neurohypophysis or pars nervosa or posterior pituitary, so that from the posterior pituitary itself directly it will be released. But anyhow, these two I will not talk here, because we are focusing only on hypothalamus here. Okay, so these are the main things. I hope now you understood how these hypothalamic hormones are regulating the activities of pituitary. I hope now you understood this. Clear? So this is what the information related to hypothalamus. These many hormones names were not given in the hypothalamus for with respect to NCERT, but all these hormones of pituitary they gave in NCERT. So to understand this, definitely we need to understand this. So in this way it is compulsory. So please remember this. So with this the basic information with respect to NCERT information of hypothalamus is completed. Now we are going with pituitary. That means once again you will go back to same table. So once again we will go back to the same flow chart. Pituitary gland. With respect to pituitary gland, they have given some sentences. Observe carefully. The pituitary gland is located in a bony cavity called sella turcica and is attached to hypothalamus by a stalk that is called as infundibulum. Now observe carefully. This is the NCERT diagram, and actually it is the pituitary gland. It is the adenohypophysis and this is the neurohypophysis. Clear? And actually below this is the bony cavity. Below this is the bone. And what is the name of this bone? Anyhow not needed, but what is the name of this particular bone? It is the sphenoid bone. It is the sphenoid bone. In this sphenoid bone, here there is a cavity, and this cavity of the sphenoid bone is called as sella turcica. In this cavity, now this is the pituitary gland that is present. This is the pituitary gland that is present. Observed or not? And this pituitary gland is attached to hypothalamus. It is attached to hypothalamus by a stalk. By a stalk. And what this stalk is called as infundibulum. These are the names they have given. That's it. This is the simple meaning of these particular sentences. Clear? I hope now you understood with the help of the diagram. Clear? So in this way it is present. Next one. Once again we are coming back to the hormones of pituitary. Now once again the same information. This time I will not spend that much time. I will quickly tell you. From the hypothalamus, thyrotropin releasing hormone is coming, and it will stimulate the release of thyroid stimulating hormone from pituitary, so that it will act on the thyroid gland, so that it will help in the means from the thyroid gland T3 and T4 will be released. Next one is from the hypothalamus, growth hormone releasing hormone is coming, so that it is acting on pituitary, so that pituitary will release growth hormone. Growth hormone will help in the growth of various organs. Next one, from the hypothalamus, growth hormone inhibitory hormone called somatostatin is coming, so that it will stop the release of growth hormone. Next one, from the hypothalamus, gonadotropin releasing hormone is released. It is acting on pituitary gland, so that it will help in the release of FSH, follicle stimulating hormone, and luteinizing hormone. Follicle stimulating hormone, in the males it is helping in spermatogenesis, in the females it will help in the growth of ovarian follicles. So luteinizing hormone, in the males it is helping in the secretion of androgens like testosterone from Leydig cells or interstitial cells. But in the case of females it is helping in ovulation and also helping in the maintenance of corpus luteum. That's it. Simple. I will not spend much time, but many times I will repeat the information so that you should remember. And from the hypothalamus, prolactin releasing hormone is released. It is acting on the pituitary, so that prolactin will be released from pituitary. It is acting on the mammary glands, so that it will help in the development of mammary glands, and it is also helping in the stimulation and the production of the milk. Okay. Next one. So prolactin inhibitory hormone from hypothalamus will stop the release of prolactin from pituitary gland. Next one, adrenocorticotropic hormone releasing hormone is produced from hypothalamus, and it will help in release of adrenocorticotropic hormone from pituitary, so that it is acting on the adrenal cortex, so that it will help in the secretion of glucocorticoids. That's it. Next one, from the hypothalamus, melanocyte stimulating hormone releasing hormone is produced. It is acting on the pars intermedia. From the pars intermedia, only one hormone is released, that is the melanocyte stimulating hormone. It will help in the stimulation of the melanocytes of the skin, so that skin pigmentation will happen. Clear? So that darkness will occur. Okay, so that melanocytes will give the black color, right? So that's what the pigmentation we are talking. If melanocyte stimulating hormone inhibiting hormone is coming, so melanocyte stimulating hormone release from pituitary will be stopped. This is what about the information related to pituitary gland. So in this way, adenohypophysis is actually the combination of pars distalis, that is called anterior pituitary, and pars intermedia. This is one part. And the other part of pituitary is called neurohypophysis or pars nervosa or posterior pituitary. Now once again we will link up the information. Hypothalamus has the neurons, and these specialized neurons are called as neurosecretory cells. They are actually producing, means synthesizing some hormones, but axons of some of these hormones are going into posterior pituitary, so that now it is stored in the posterior pituitary, and from the posterior pituitary they are secreted. And what are these? There are two hormones. Such type of hormones are actually two types, and one is oxytocin, other one is called as vasopressin. Vasopressin is also called as antidiuretic hormone. Observe carefully. The oxytocin, that is released from posterior pituitary, and oxytocin, it is actually helping in the contraction of the smooth muscles and all, so that it will help in the ejection of the milk from the mammary glands. So there some myoepithelial cells are present around the mammary gland. So the contraction of these myoepithelial cells will help in the ejection. So it will be the release of the milk from the mammary gland. And not only this, during the parturition means what? Delivery of the baby. So during the parturition, it is helping in the uterine contraction. These are the functions. Clear? Next one. So release of the vasopressin. So vasopressin is also released from the posterior pituitary. It is also called as antidiuretic hormone because it will help in the loss of the water and sodium ions from the distal parts of the nephron. So in this way, this is acting on the kidney. This hormone is acting on the kidney, so it will help in the reabsorption of water and electrolytes like Na+. So in this way, it will help in increasing the blood volume. It will help in the maintenance of the body volume. So these are the functions of these particular hormones. This is what you need to remember. This everything was clearly mentioned in the NCERT. Some special points if you are talking with respect to growth hormone, over secretion and under secretion. So over secretion in the child, overproduction of the growth hormone in the child stage itself will lead to gigantism, whereas under secretion means less production of growth hormone in the child will lead to pituitary dwarfism. So short individuals will be developed. That's it. Height will not increase here. Okay. Generally dwarf means, generally dwarf, who is considered as a dwarf? Adult individual having the height less than 4 feet 10 inches. Please observe carefully. Technically, who is called as a dwarf? Adult human being, adult, not the child. Please remember, adult human being having the height less than 4 feet 10 inches is called as, considered as a dwarf. But generally in the pituitary dwarfism, so these individuals will have the height in the range of 4 feet 1 inch to 4 feet 4 inches. That is what the average height that they are having. Okay, next one. Now over secretion in the adult stage, if you are talking, in the adult stage, over secretion of growth hormone will cause some abnormal development or the size increase in the, mainly in the case of hands, means limbs, and also in the case of the face part. So that now here disfigurement means not a proportionate increase, so disproportionate growth of this hands, legs, and also in the face some changes are taking place. So now this particular condition is called as acromegaly. In the NCERT very clearly they have given the sentences. In short, I am trying to compile this information. That's it. Okay. So in this way, gigantism. So this is due to over secretion of growth hormone in the child stage, and dwarfism, pituitary dwarfism is due to under secretion of the growth hormone in the child stage. But this acromegaly, please remember, this side part is the normal individual part. If the individual is normal, it does not mean that only half of the side it will become. It will not like this. Entire body will occur. But for comparison part, if it is the normal individual, and this is the face that we are observing in the acromegaly individual, and this we are observing due to overproduction or over secretion of growth hormone in the adult individual. Clear? This is what that they are talking here. Next one. So here they are talking about, already this information we have covered under the table or the in that flow chart. Simply let us quickly go through this. Prolactin hormone, it regulates the growth of mammary glands and the formation of milk in them. And thyroid stimulating hormone stimulates the synthesis and secretion of thyroid hormones from the thyroid gland. What are thyroid hormones? T3, T4, these are. Next, adrenocorticotropic hormone stimulates the synthesis and secretion of steroid hormones called as glucocorticoids from the adrenal cortex. Next one, LH, luteinizing hormone and follicle stimulating hormone. They stimulate the gonadal activity and hence they are called as gonadotropins. But with respect to males, what is the activity? With respect to females, what is the activity? Very clearly I have informed in that particular flow chart. So please observe that carefully. This is what they are talking here. So here after the release of the ovum, now this ruptured Graafian follicle, now it will develop into the corpus luteum, the term corpus luteum. But generally more information regarding this we will study under a separate chapter of class 12th, that is human reproduction chapter. There we will study more. Here we don't need to spend much time on it, but since it is the revision, simply I am telling you this. And this corpus luteum maintenance, for the corpus luteum maintenance, now corpus luteum will produce, anyhow separately we will study under the ovary. Corpus luteum will start producing the progesterone hormone, right? So anyhow, so here they are saying that LH hormone is also helping in maintenance of the corpus luteum. This is what. So if pregnancy does not happen, then what happens? Means if fertilization does not occur, now this corpus luteum finally it will become a white scar. It is called as corpus albicans. Anyhow, this information we have studied in human reproduction chapter, but here we are not spending much time on it. Simply for understanding the names I am telling you, that's it. Next one is melanocyte stimulating hormone. It acts on the melanocytes. They are the melanin containing cells and regulates the pigmentation of the skin, so that darkness and lightness, so all these will be decided by this particular hormone. Next one, oxytocin. Oxytocin, it is acting on the smooth muscles, so that smooth muscles of the body, and it stimulates their contraction. So contraction of smooth muscles by the oxytocin. Next one, in the case of females, it stimulates vigorous contraction of the uterus at the time of childbirth. Childbirth means it is also called a parturition, and also milk ejection from the mammary gland. These are the functions. Next one, vasopressin, it is also called as antidiuretic hormone. These are the direct sentence of NCERT. I did not change not even a single letter also. So it acts mainly on the kidney and stimulates resorption, means reabsorption of the water and electrolytes by the distal tubules and thereby reduces the loss of water through the urine. That's why it is preventing diuresis. Preventing diuresis. Loss of water is called as diuresis. Loss of water in the form of urine is called as a diuresis. Since it is preventing that, now this hormone is called as antidiuretic hormone. This is what. And if this antidiuretic hormone, if it is not produced in the enough quantity, now it may cause the frequent urination due to more and more urine formation, and now it is called as diabetes insipidus. Don't get confused between diabetes insipidus and diabetes mellitus. Diabetes insipidus is due to antidiuretic hormone that is produced from posterior pituitary. But diabetes mellitus is due to insulin hormone that is produced from beta cells of pancreas. Two different things. Don't get confused. Okay. This is what some important information is. With this, pituitary gland is completed. Now we are talking about the pineal gland. Now here what they are saying, pineal gland is located on the dorsal side of the forebrain. Now observe this. This is the brain and this is the diagram. Lateral view, you just observe carefully. This is the dorsal side and this is the ventral side. Please observe carefully. Many students are thinking that dorsal means this is dorsal. No, this is anterior. This side is the posterior. Anterior, opposite is the posterior. This is ventral and this is the dorsal. These are the names. Don't make mistake. And here what they are saying, this is actually the part of the forebrain. Though it is also part of the forebrain, here we are mainly focusing here, thalamus and hypothalamus. And with respect to this, it is present behind this. Behind means what? This is the dorsal side. So this is what the location of pineal gland. So what is the location of pineal gland? It is present dorsal to forebrain. In this sense, they have given the NCERT sentence. So please understand this. The pineal gland is located on the dorsal side of the forebrain. So dorsal mainly with respect to thalamus and hypothalamus. Okay. So don't consider this particular cerebrum part. Clear? So in this way they are saying that it is present dorsal to the forebrain, and the pineal gland secretes a hormone. And what is the name of this hormone? It is the melatonin. Please remember, melanin is a pigment, that is a different thing, and melatonin is a hormone that is produced by pineal gland. Spelling is very important, don't make mistake here. Next one, melatonin. What are the various functions? Very clearly they have mentioned. You need to remember each and everything. Melatonin plays very important role in regulation of 24 hours, that is the diurnal rhythm of our body. For example, it helps in maintenance of normal rhythms of sleep-wake cycle. This is one example. Body temperature is also controlled. In addition to this, it is also influencing the body metabolism. Normal metabolism is also under its control. And pigmentation means coloration. Please understand. Just now we studied about melanocyte stimulating hormone from the pituitary, that is also controlling pigmentation. And this is also controlling the pigmentation. Clear? And the menstrual cycle as well as our defense capabilities. So with respect to defense capabilities, you are talking about the pineal gland and the thymus gland. That is also important in the defense capabilities, because cell mediated immunity and humoral mediated immunity, all the things are related to that. So these two things. So that's why information given under different paragraphs also you need to combine. Okay, please remember this. Okay, menstrual cycle. So with respect to pineal gland, you are talking about menstrual cycle, and anyhow that FSH and LH, they are also related to the menstrual cycle and the ovarian hormones directly. So all these are related to menstrual cycle. So you need to interlink the information so that it will be easy for you. Clear? Next one, regarding the thyroid gland. With respect to thyroid gland, here it is having the two lobes. This is the right side lobe, and this is the left side lobe. Right side lobe, left side lobe. Two lobes are present, and these two are connected by a connective tissue that is called as isthmus. So this is what they have very clearly mentioned in the NCERT, and it is having two lobes located on either side of the trachea. This is the trachea, on either side it is present. This is what simply they said. Next one, here in this particular thyroid gland, if you are observing, so it is having two different types of cells. One type of cells are called as follicular cells, and other type of cells. So this is one follicle, right? Follicles like this. So these are the follicular cells, and these cells are covering some cavity that is filled with the fluid. And now between these also some cells are. These are anyhow blood vessels, but some cells are present, and these cells are called as parafollicular cells. These are also simply called as C cells, C, letter C cells, and these are also called as stromal cells. Please observe these names. In the NCERT, they used a term called as a follicular cell and stromal cell. That stromal cell is nothing but parafollicular cells. What is the stroma? the part that is present between this is called as the stroma. The cells in the stroma are called as stromal cells. So you can call parafollicular cells as stromal cells, parafollicular cells, stromal cells, and you can also call them as C cells. Please remember, from the follicular cells, two hormones, T3 and T4. From this parafollicular cells, we are talking about thyrocalcitonin, TCT, that is involving in calcium metabolism, calcium homeostasis, right? So these are the things that we are studying under the thyroid gland. Observe carefully. First, we are talking about the follicular cells. Thyroid gland is composed of the follicles and the stromal tissue. In the stromal tissue, there are cells called as stromal cells, also called as parafollicular cells. So it is related to NCRT only. So you need to remember this. Each thyroid follicle is composed of follicular cells. These are the follicular cells enclosing the cavity. This is the cavity. Okay, next one. These follicular cells synthesize two hormones. Follicular cells are synthesizing two hormones. What are those? T3 and T4. What is T3? It is the T3. Three iodines are present in this. So triiodothyronine. Here T4. 4 means what? Tetra. So it is tetraiodothyronine. So these are the hormones. So now once again come back to this particular one. Okay, so here from the hypothalamus, thyrotropin releasing hormone is coming, that is acting on the anterior pituitary. From the anterior pituitary, thyroid stimulating hormone is released, and that is acting on the thyroid gland. And just now we studied thyroid gland is releasing T3 and T4. So this information you should link up like this, then only your preparation will be completed. Understood or not? So this is what they are talking that. So now this T3 triiodothyronine and tetraiodothyronine is also called as thyroxine. These are released. Clear? And here I am telling you, anyhow, this point we have completed. So here I am giving you some information. Here 1, 2, 3, 4 iodines are present. That's why it is a tetraiodothyronine, also called as thyroxine. But here 1, 2, 3 iodines are present. This is the triiodothyronine. But between these two, one is active form, other one is inactive form. Which one is active form? T3 is the active form and T4 is considered as inactive form. Please observe carefully. But the T4 is called as thyroxine. Clear? This is the information. This information was not given in NCRT, but better remember this. Next one, this information was also not there in NCRT. But now there is a sentence that is called thyroxine act as a physiological uncoupler, where we have studied about uncoupler concept. Uncoupler concept we have studied under respiration chapter in plant physiology. Though it is plant physiology, these concepts are respiration chapter concepts are common for both plants and animals. So what is this uncoupler will do? Generally, whatever the food that we are taking, that will be digested in the digestive system and it will be absorbed into the blood. From the blood, now it is supplied to the body parts. And now the cells are taking this food material. And this food, I am talking with respect to the general carbohydrate I am talking. So now it is undergoing the glycolysis, then it is undergoing Krebs cycle, then it is undergoing electron transport system. So that the food material is useful for the energy production. During this energy production, what actually you are talking? So electrons are moving in the inner mitochondrial membrane. Yes or no? Inner mitochondrial membrane. And there H plus ions are moving initially. When electrons are moving in the inner mitochondrial membrane, H plus ions are moving from the matrix to the perimitochondrial space. And again, and because of this, there the proton gradient will be developed. So chemiosmotic theory we studied. Again, the H plus ions are coming back into the matrix through F0, F1 particles, also called as oxysomes, are also called as elementary particles. All the information we studied. So because of this, what happens when H plus ions are passing through like this, now more and more energy is released, and this released energy is used to combine ADP plus PI to form ATP. This is what the general process is. In this way, the energy released there is ultimately used for ATP production. That is what the original concept that you are talking. But what is the role of these uncouplers? Uncouplers, what they will do is they will reduce the ATP synthesis. They will reduce the ATP synthesis without affecting the electron flow. So here what happens? Why they are reducing ATP synthesis? But they will allow the movement of H plus ions. The logic there is, if H plus ions are simply moving, so now just now I said no, when because of movement from high concentration to low concentration, when H plus ions are coming like this, some energy is released. If that energy is not used for ATP, that energy will be released as heat energy. so that to maintain our body heat, that energy can be used. So this thyroxine is helping like that. So when we are in a very cold conditions, to maintain our body temperature, some heat energy is required. In that case, this thyroxine will be released and it will be used as physiological uncoupler, so that it will help in producing more and more heat. This is the concept that you can interlink with that particular chapter, but not mentioned in NCRT. If possible, you just try to remember this logic, or else leave it. That's it. I don't want to force you. This is what one thing. Next information is related to the frog. Please remember, actually we are studying human physiology. Since we are studying human physiology, this concept is not applicable to human. This concept we are studying specifically for the frogs. So please remember here, in the frogs, during the developmental stage, initially a tail will be developed. But the adult frog is not having the tail. Now how this tail will be removed? And this tail removal is actually called as resorption. Tail resorption. So tail removal, slowly it will be degenerated, and in this way this the initial form that is having the tail is finally converted into tailless adult form, and you can call this particular one as a metamorphic change. So in this way, here also this thyroxine hormone, it is the thyroid hormone called thyroxine specifically, that is helping in the loss or the removal of the tail. So in this way, it is helping in this particular metamorphic changes in the case of frogs, and this information you can combine with the frog again. So please remember this. But actually this concept, because human does not have the tail in the developmental stage, so this logic is not applicable to human. Okay, please remember this. Don't mix all these things. Okay, don't say that thyroxine is useful to remove the tail in the human. Don't say like this. It is for the frog information we are combining. Okay, so that is what the little bit out of NCRT content. Again come back to NCRT. And here we are talking about the thyroid hormones, less production, more production, what happens, all these things we are talking. And iodine is essential for the normal rate of hormone synthesis in the case of thyroid, because in the T3, T4 iodine is present. So if the enough amount of iodine is not present, it is a problem. Okay, so that's what they are saying, that so iodine is required. So enough quantity of iodine is required for the normal production of this T3 and T4. That's what they are saying. So deficiency of iodine in our diet results in hypothyroidism. So actually we need to get this iodine through our food only. So whatever the food that we are taking, if it is not having enough iodine, so then it will lead to hypothyroidism. That's why what the scientists did is to remove this particular deficiency. So generally we are using the iodized salt. So whatever the salt that we are using for cooking and all the things, right? So in that salt actually iodine will be added. So in that form actually we are taking. So please remember this. So that's why, so to remove this particular deficiency, to eliminate the deficiency, we are actually adding iodine mainly with the salt. So that's why it is called iodized salt. Okay, or iodine fortified salt. Please remember these words. Fortified means enriched. So iodine enriched salt or iodine fortified salt. So in this way also they may use some words in the examination. So please remember this. In this way, through our diet we need to get this iodine. If we are not getting enough iodine, then what happens? It will lead to hypothyroidism. So less production of the thyroid hormones. And here generally what we are observing, enlargement of the thyroid gland. If iodine is not present in the, means it is not taken in the enough quantity, why thyroid gland is enlarging? There the idea of enlarging of thyroid gland is, so in the normally in the cells what happens? If the cell size is less, now the absorption ability is less. So since already less iodine is present, so if the cell size increases, it can absorb more. Even though it is less from the circulating iodine, now it can absorb maximum possible. So for that purpose, now it is enlarging. So that's why it is leading to enlargement of the thyroid gland. And this is commonly called as goiter, or simply called as simple goiter. Both of them are same, goiter or simple goiter. So here it is causing the enlargement of the thyroid gland. So please observe this carefully. And this we are observing with respect to hypothyroidism. And now we are talking about another condition that is called hypothyroidism only. But in which specific condition we are observing? During the pregnancy. During the pregnancy, if the mother is facing hypothyroidism, please observe this carefully. If the mother is facing hypothyroidism during the pregnancy, then Remaining information is not about the mother. This is where many students are making mistake. Since we are talking about the pregnancy, they are thinking that so this information is related to mother. No, mother is actually facing the problem of hypothyroidism during pregnancy, so that the baby that is growing inside is having these problems. So these problems we are talking with respect to baby we are talking. So please remember this, for the developing baby these problems will happen. Many students are thinking that these problems will happen to mother. So repeatedly I am telling you this because I observed that many students are thinking that I am asking that so hypothyroidism during pregnancy will, I am giving one statement, observe carefully. Hypothyroidism during pregnancy will result in mental retardation of the pregnant mother. If I am giving the sentence like this, is it true? No, it is not. This mental retardation, whatever they gave, it is not for the mother. It is for the developing baby. So please understand the sentences carefully. Don't make mistakes. Okay. So now let me read this. Nothing to explain much here. Hypothyroidism during pregnancy will cause the defective development and maturation of the growing baby. Defective development of the baby and the maturation also, there are some defects. So this is what the problem. Leading to stunted growth. Stunted growth means decreased growth. Please remember, pituitary dwarfism we studied due to less production of growth hormone from the pituitary gland. There also height is decreased, but that is called as pituitary dwarfism. That dwarfism is due to pituitary hormone. What is the pituitary hormone? Growth hormone. But here also stunted growth, lesser growth we are observing, but this is due to hypothyroidism during the pregnancy. So that's why this type of stunted growth and having these problems, now it is called as cretinism. Cretinism. So this is the NCERT name they have given very clearly. So you need to remember this. And not only this, we are also observing mental retardation. So brain development is not happening properly for the child. And low intelligence, when brain development is not happening, their intelligence levels also will be lesser. And then abnormal skin, and also we are observing deaf mutism. So here skin development also, skin is also not developing properly, so they are also having some issues with respect to skin also. Deaf mutism. Deaf means what? They cannot hear. Mute means they cannot speak. Dumb, this is the dumb, deaf and dumb, this is what they are talking. Understood or not? So the individual may become deaf and dumb also by birth. So these are some problems that are related to this particular one. So observe very carefully. Next one, in the adult woman. So this we are talking about the woman who is a pregnant at that time. Now here, not a pregnant. So in the adult woman, so here hypothyroidism we are observing. In the same woman we are observing some problems. What is this? In the adult woman, hypothyroidism may cause menstrual cycle to become irregular. So periods will not happen regularly. So irregular periods. So here menstrual cycle will become irregular. So these are some things that they are talking here. Next one, due to cancer of the thyroid gland. Now till now we studied about lesser production, hyposecretion, lesser production. But now we are talking about more production of thyroid hormones. So this more production can happen because of some cancers or because of some nodules that were developed. And because of this, what happens? More production, more than required, this thyroid hormones will occur. And now it is called as hyperthyroidism. And this is also having some adverse effects. So here they are talking about one specific condition that is called as exophthalmic goiter. What is this exophthalmic goiter? First we will talk about the goiter. What is this goiter? Enlargement of the thyroid gland. Because of the cancer of the nodule, size is increased. So that's why it is the goiter. But this goiter is not like that simple goiter. Simple goiter is due to deficiency of the iodine. Due to deficiency of the iodine, simple goiter was developed. But this is due to more production. And here the size increased, that's why it is the goiter. And here we are observing one important feature, that is exophthalmic. Exo. What is this one? Exo we are talking, right? Exo is the outside. What is this outside here? Protrusion, outside, coming out. What is coming out? Ophthalmic. What is this ophthalmic? Eyes. The term ophthalmic we are using with respect to eyes. So exophthalmic. What is this one? So coming out. What is coming out? Eyes are coming out. So that's why it is considered as, here very clearly they give protrusion of eyeballs. Protrusion of eyeballs coming out. So for the normal individual they are like this, but in these individuals they are coming a little bit outside. So that's why it is the protrusion of eyeballs. For this you can easily link up with this exophthalmic goiter. is a type of hyperthyroidism, more production. Okay, and it is characterized by enlargement of thyroid gland because there is a cancer or the nodule development, so enlargement of thyroid gland, and exophthalmic with respect to this protrusion of eyeballs, and then increase in basal metabolic rate. Actually, these thyroid hormones are involving in normal maintenance of normal basal metabolic rate. If more and more thyroid hormones are produced, basal metabolic rate will increase. Means utilization of majority of these sources will occur, so that weight loss also can occur. So all these things you can interlink. And this particular condition is called as Graves' disease. It is called as Graves' disease. So please observe this very carefully. Next one. Thyroid hormones play important role in regulation of normal basal metabolic rate. Under the rest condition, some physiological activity should happen. For that, some energy is required. So all these things will come under the basal metabolic rate. And this basal metabolic rate is normally under the control of these thyroid hormones. Clear? So this is what they are talking. Next one. These hormones also support the process of red blood cells formation. This is the NCERT statement, but this is not NCERT statement. How exactly they are helping? Actually, they are helping in the production of hemoglobin, and also they are helping in the proliferation of erythroid progenitors. These are the cells that are the previous to red blood cells. So when their number increases, ultimately RBC number also increases. In this way, these hormones are helping in the red blood cell formation. You don't need to remember this, but remember this particular sentence. Okay, regarding red blood cells formation, different hormones they have given. That collective information I will tell you at the end of this particular video. Next one. Thyroid hormones control the metabolism of carbohydrates, proteins, fats, because they are controlling the basal metabolic rate. So they are controlling the metabolism of all these major nutrient molecules. Next one. Maintenance of water and electrolyte balance. Maintenance of water and electrolyte balance is also influenced by the thyroid hormone. Water and electrolyte balance, antidiuretic hormone. Water and electrolyte balance by adrenal cortex, mineralocorticoids, and water and electrolyte balance by the thyroid hormones. See this. This is the collective information. We need to combine all these informations. Then only our preparation will be complete. If you are individually studying this and forgetting, then there is no use. So anyhow, all these things at the end I have linked up. So there also once again I will tell you. So up to this we have studied about T3 and T4. These are produced by the follicular cells. But now we are talking about parafollicular cells, also called as C cells, also called as stromal cells, and they are also part of thyroid gland, and they are producing a hormone called as, simply you can call it as calcitonin, or you can also call it as thyrocalcitonin, because produced from thyroid gland, thyrocalcitonin, and which is helping in the maintenance of blood calcium levels. But how exactly it is maintaining, that is also important. This information was not given in NCERT, but it is compulsory. If you know these 4 points, exactly opposite to these 4 we will study for parathyroid gland, because parathyroid hormone, because these two hormones are acting exactly opposite. Calcitonin or thyrocalcitonin, what is the ultimate conclusion of this particular one? It is actually decreasing the blood calcium levels. What is the ultimate function of this particular one? It will decrease the blood calcium levels. Within the blood, circulating blood, calcium levels will decrease. How it will decrease? Now observe carefully. How it will decrease? First thing, inhibiting the activity of osteoclasts. Anyhow, you don't know much about these names, so please remember this. Osteo means bone. Osteo means bone. Blasts are synthesizing cells. Clasts are cleaving, breaking cells. Observe this carefully. Osteoblasts are bone synthesizing. Bone synthesizing means for the bone synthesis, calcium is required. Yes or no? So that's why increased osteoblastic activity. That means from the blood calcium is taken, it will be added to the bone. So that means because of this activity, blood calcium levels are decreased. Next one. Osteoclast. What actually osteoclast will do? It will break the bone and it will release the calcium. So blood calcium level should decrease means osteoclast activity should decrease. So osteoclast activity decreases, osteoblast activity increases. Next one, decreasing calcium absorption in the intestine. In the intestine, calcium absorbed. Absorbed means where it will go? Again, it will go into the blood. So what is its role here? Blood calcium level should decrease. That's why in the intestine, calcium absorption will decrease, so that it will not enter into the blood. In this way relation. Next one, from the kidney. From the kidney, what happens? Calcium will be released out. Understood or not? So it is lost in the form in the urine. So this calcium is lost in the urine. So in this way, all these factors will suggest that it will help in decreasing the blood calcium levels. This is what the function is. At least this point you need to remember. Now exactly opposite, you will study about the hormone produced by parathyroid gland. Where this parathyroid gland? On each lobe of the thyroid gland. Now again, two each are present. So two on this side, two on this side. Total of 4 parathyroid glands are present. Okay. Next one, they are producing a hormone called as parathyroid hormone, or simply you can call it as parathormone, like this also you can call it. And what is its function? It is also helping in calcium maintenance, but here what it will do? Exactly opposite. Calcitonin is decreasing blood calcium level, but parathormone will increase blood calcium level. Exactly opposite 4 points. These 4 points they mentioned in NCERT here, but those 4 points they have not mentioned. And there what we studied for calcitonin, we said that calcitonin will decrease osteoclast activity, but here it will increase osteoclast activity. Calcitonin will increase osteoblast activity, and this will decrease osteoblast activity. And calcitonin is decreasing the absorption of calcium in the intestine, but parathormone will increase calcium absorption. And there calcitonin is causing the loss of calcium in the urine, but here it will decrease it. Exactly opposite points. If you know these 4 points, what are the 4 points you are studying for parathormone? Exactly opposite for calcitonin. And their 4 points are exactly opposite to this one. So that's why if you read one, you need to interlink with the other one. But there in NCERT they have not mentioned, but here they mentioned, so interlink this. So now I will read the NCERT paragraph. Parathyroid hormone increases calcium levels in the blood. Blood calcium levels are increased. Parathyroid hormone or parathormone acts on the bones and stimulates the process of bone resorption, bone dissolution. By whom? By osteoclasts or demineralization. D means removal of mineral. What is that? Calcium. So loss of the calcium. Where it is going? From the bone into the blood. So in this way blood calcium levels will increase. Next one, parathormone also stimulates reabsorption of calcium by the renal tubules. So reabsorption is initiated by the renal tubules. So again that will come back into the blood and increases the calcium absorption from the digested food. That means in the intestine, it is increasing the calcium absorption. These are the points we studied opposite to that thyrocalcitonin. Next one. It is thus clear that parathormone is a hypercalcemic hormone. It is helping in increasing the calcium levels. That means that thyrocalcitonin is hypo means lesser, hyper means more. So hypocalcemic hormone is the thyrocalcitonin, but parathormone is hypercalcemic hormone. That's it. That means it increases the blood calcium levels. Next one. Along with the thyrocalcitonin, it plays a significant role in the calcium balance in the body. So these two are acting opposite. So in this way they are helping in maintenance of this particular calcium levels. That's it. Next one, regarding the thymus. So regarding the thymus, it is present in the thoracic cavity, just behind the sternum, just ventral to the, behind means what? Dorsal to the sternum, ventral to the aorta. So in this way it is present, and that it is present between the lungs. It is a lobular structure. These are the points that they have mentioned here. And this is the thymus gland, very, very important. Please remember, in the health and diseases chapter, we studied about primary lymphoid organs. What are the primary lymphoid organs? Bone marrow and thymus are considered as primary lymphoid organs, and remaining like pairs, patches, and malt, galt, and then lymph nodes, all these things are considered as secondary lymphoid organs. Spleen is also secondary lymphoid organs. Yes or no? So it is a primary lymphoid organs. It is helping in development and maturation of the lymphoid cells. Yes or no? So mainly the T lymphocytes. T lymphocytes are matured in thymus. B lymphocytes and T lymphocytes, very importantly, I will repeat 2 times, listen carefully. B and T lymphocytes, both of them are produced in the bone marrow. Both of them are produced in the bone marrow. But B lymphocytes will mature in the bone marrow, T lymphocytes will mature in the thymus in general. Clear? So that's why thymus is very, very important, and thymus is producing some peptide hormones called as thymosins. They are helping in the maturation of this. So in this way, this is helping in the maturation of the T lymphocytes. And these T lymphocytes are involving in cell-mediated immunity. In human health and diseases we studied. Not only this, these thymosins are also helping in the production of antibodies by the B lymphocytes. So these antibodies of B lymphocytes will involve in humoral mediated immunity. So in this way, Both of them are very, very important. But here they are talking that thymus is degenerated in the old individuals, resulting in the decreased production of thymosin. So generally what happens is, after the adult stage, now this particular degeneration of the thymus will start. So in this way, by the age of 60-65 years, now this will become almost not functional, non-functional. Almost it will become non-functional. This is what they are saying. Clear? So that is the reason why in the elderly people, in the old aged people, generally the immune system functioning is slowly decreasing. Okay, this is what they are saying. As a result, the immune response of old people will become weak. This is what the relation that they are talking here. With that, the thymus gland is completed. Next one they are talking is regarding the adrenal gland. What is the location they are saying? So it is present on the top of this kidney. Okay, and here our body has one pair of adrenal glands, one each on the each kidney. So one at the anterior part of each kidney. So this is what the location they are saying. It is composed of the different types of tissues, and here we are classifying this into two parts. Outer region is called as the adrenal cortex, and the central part is called as adrenal medulla. So these are the names that they have given. And here they are talking with respect to adrenal medulla. The central medulla portion is producing two types of hormones. One is called as adrenaline. It is also called as epinephrine. And the other one is called as noradrenaline. It is also called as norepinephrine. So you can call it as adrenaline and noradrenaline, or epinephrine and norepinephrine. Anything you can say. So these are the hormones, and these names we already studied when we studied about the regulation of cardiac activity. There we studied that these hormones are helping in increasing the cardiac activity, so that they are increasing the heartbeats, and they are also increasing the stroke volume. They are also increasing the cardiac output. All this information we have studied in the regulation of the cardiac activity under body fluids and circulation chapter. Same information they have given here. Not only this, these are also increasing the rate of respiration. Why they are doing all these things? Because they are actually related with some emergency conditions like fight or flight. So when we are in some stress conditions, so when we are doing some fight, or when we are running, flight, we are going away, running away. So in those extreme emergency conditions, these hormones are released, so that they are helping in all these things. Please remember, when we are fighting or running, then we need more and more energy. So more ATP is required. More ATP required means more oxygen is required. More oxygen is required means more respiration, breathing rate is increased. And who is bringing that oxygen? Again, by the heart only. So that's why, so cardiac activity is increased, cardiac stroke volume is increased, cardiac output is increased, number of beats are increased. This is what the relation is. Relate all these things. So this is what they are saying. So in this way, these hormones are commonly called as catecholamines. Please remember this. Adrenaline and noradrenaline are rapidly secreted in response to stress of any kind. In any kind of this stress, these are produced, and also they are produced during the emergency situations. That's why these are called as emergency hormones, and these are also called as hormones of fight or flight. Please remember these names very clearly. They have given NCERT. Next one, these hormones increase alertness and then pupillary dilation. So when you are very angry, now what happens? Now pupil will dilate, right? So inside the pupil will be dilated. All these things, and also piloerection. So now this hair, so this raising of these hairs, piloerection. So all these things will happen, and even sweating also. When we are feeling fear, then sweating, more and more sweating will occur. So all these are because of these hormones, and both the hormones increase the heartbeat, the strength of cardiac contraction, and the rate of respiration. Already we have discussed. Catecholamines also stimulate the breakdown of glycogen, because for these particular things we need more energy. From where we are getting this energy? From the breakdown of glycogen. Glycogen is the storage food material, right? So in the animals, the energy, the food material is stored in the form of glycogen. So glycogen will break down and it will release the glucose, and that glucose will be used for the production of energy. So in this way, it will cause the breakdown of the glycogen, resulting in increased concentration of glucose in the blood. Not only this, this is also stimulating the breakdown of lipids and proteins also. This is some information that they have given for hormones that are produced from the medulla of adrenal gland. This is what they are saying. And now we are talking about the cortex hormones. But here directly before going with that, they have given some basic information. They are talking about a disease condition called Addison's disease, and this is because of hyposecretion, lesser secretion of adrenal cortical hormones, mainly the cortisol and aldosterone. Clear? So here they are saying that underproduction, under means less production, hyposecretion of hormones. Which hormones? By the adrenal cortex. Adrenal cortical hormones, if they are less produced, they will alters means they will change the carbohydrate metabolism, causing the acute weakness and fatigue, that is leading to a disease condition called as Addison's disease. Okay, this is what they are saying. And now, even though not mentioned, so I have given another condition that is called as Cushing's syndrome. This is exactly opposite. This is due to hypersecretion, more secretion or overproduction of adrenal cortical hormones. Mainly it is the cortisol. It is leading to Cushing's syndrome. This was not mentioned in NCERT. If possible, try to remember this. Clear? Next one. Next one, they are talking that what are the various layers in the sequence wise in the case of adrenal gland. Anyhow, the innermost is the adrenal medulla, and it is releasing some hormones called epinephrine and norepinephrine, and they are called as stress hormones. Ultimately, they are stimulating the sympathetic nervous system, which is part of autonomic nervous system, and this part already we completed. Now come to the upper part, and the outside part is called as the cortex, and for this cortex, outermost is there is a connective tissue that is called as the capsule. And now in this cortex part, if you are talking, so from outer, middle and inner. For the cortex I am talking. Within the cortex again, outer, middle and inner. So outer is called as zona glomerulosa, and the middle part is called as zona fasciculata, and the inner part of the cortex is called as zona reticularis. These names were very clearly mentioned in NCERT, but in NCERT first they started with zona reticularis, then they said zona fasciculata, then they said zona glomerulosa, but here we are going from outer to inner. So in this way, zona glomerulosa first we are starting. And this zona glomerulosa is actually releasing some hormones which are actually involved in regulation of mineral balance. Since they are involved in the mineral balance, these are called as mineralocorticoids. They are produced from the cortex and they are involved in the mineral balance. That's why they are called mineralocorticoids. Clear? And for this, the standard example is aldosterone. And this aldosterone we studied in excretory products and their elimination. RAS pathway. Renin, angiotensin, aldosterone pathway, and there we studied about this one. Ultimately, the aldosterone is also involved there, and it is helping in the reabsorption of this particular Na plus and water, right? So it is involving in the mineral balance. That's why this is example for mineralocorticoid. Please remember this, and they are produced from zona glomerulosa of adrenal gland. Next one. Next part we are talking is zona fasciculata, and this is also part of the cortex, and this is releasing some steroid hormones like cortisol, corticosterone, cortisone. These many names are there, but in NCERT they mentioned only cortisol. At least remember that. And actually this is involving in the regulation of glucose metabolism. So that's why these are called as glucocorticoids. This is called as glucocorticoids. Please remember this. Next one is the zona reticularis, and it is producing some androgens, okay, and which are stimulating the, which are helping in the masculinization. Since they are the androgens, male characters, they are helping in the development of male characters. And here there is a standard example, that is dehydroepiandrosterone. These are some hormones that we are studying. And now what is the conclusion is, from here to here it is the cortex, okay, adrenal cortex. All these adrenal cortex hormones are steroid hormones. At the end of the chapter we will study about different types of hormones. There is a name called steroid hormones. Adrenal cortex hormones are steroid hormones. All these are steroid hormones. Please remember this. But adrenal medullary hormones are amino acid derivatives. Epinephrine, norepinephrine are amino acid derivatives. There I kept a separate table. There I will tell you this information once again. Clear? So remember this. This is what some information that they are talking here. So here, adrenal cortex. We are talking about the adrenal cortex. So once again we are coming to this particular one. Hypothalamus is releasing adrenocorticotropic hormone releasing hormone. It is acting on the pituitary gland, and pituitary is releasing adrenocorticotropic hormone that is acting on the adrenal cortex, and from the adrenal cortex glucocorticoids are released. Here also there is one relation, and apart from this there is a separate one. Okay, here also there is a relation, apart from this there is a separate one. So in this way glucocorticoid release is happening through the pituitary gland release and all, pituitary hormone release and all. Okay, so this is what some information that you need to interlink with the main flow chart. Clear, and come back to this. This is what the direct information they give. Simply I will read it here. The adrenal cortex can be divided into 3 layers. Zona reticularis is the inner layer, zona fasciculata is the middle layer, and zona glomerulosa is the outer layer. The adrenal cortex secretes many hormones that are commonly called as corticoids or corticosteroids. That also you can say corticoids are corticosteroids because they are steroid hormones. The corticoids which are involved in the carbohydrate metabolism are called as glucocorticoids. And here they have given an example that is called as cortisol, that is the main glucocorticoid. Not only this, there are some other examples also there. Main one is cortisol. And the corticoids which are regulating the balance of water and electrolytes in our body are called as mineralocorticoids. And here the standard example is aldosterone is one such important example. Clear? Next one, glucocorticoids are stimulating gluconeogenesis. You need to understand the meanings of this. Gluconeogenesis, where we have studied about this. Again in the respiration chapter we studied. Yes or no? Glycolysis. What is glycolysis? Breakdown of glucose into pyruvic acid is the glycolysis. Yes or no? Next word is glycogenolysis. Glycogenolysis. Lysis means breakdown. What is this? Glycogen. Glycogen breakdown is called as glycogenolysis. So that glycogen breakdown will form the glucose. That is one term. Next one, glycogenesis. What is glycogenesis? Glycogen synthesis is the glycogenesis. But here we are studying a different word that is called gluconeogenesis. Understand the meaning of this. Gluco means glucose. Neo means new. Genesis means synthesis. Glucose new synthesis. What is this glucose new synthesis? So inside the body glucose formation means generally we are talking about glycogen breakdown producing glucose, but that is called glycogenolysis. Yes or no? That is called glycogenolysis, but here they are not saying this. It is a glucose new synthesis from some other compounds, maybe from some proteins, maybe from some other intermediate molecules. Glucose can be produced in the reverse process. So you know that except three steps in glycolysis, remaining all are reversible things. For those 3 steps different enzymes will come, so reverse of the glycolysis can occur. Reverse of the glycolysis can occur so that glucose can be produced from some other intermediate molecules, and that particular process is called gluconeogenesis. At least even though you are not reading those particular pathways, at least please understand what is the meaning of that particular word. Without this, no one can help you. So please understand this. This is what the glucose new synthesis from some other intermediate molecules. So in this way, glucocorticoids will stimulate this one. Next one, lipolysis, lipid breakdown, proteolysis, protein breakdown, and next one, and this is what they are stimulating. They are doing these things, and inhibiting, they are stopping what? Cellular uptake and utilization of amino acids, so that they are available for some other purposes. Next one, cortisol is also involved in. Cortisol is the main glucocorticoid, right? So this is what the general function of the glucocorticoid. Now specifically for cortisol, they are saying some other functions. What they are saying? Cortisol is also involved in maintaining the cardiovascular system as well as kidney functions. For the normal functioning of the cardiovascular, cardio means heart, vascular means the blood vessels. So here the heart blood vessels. So for their normal functioning and also for the kidney functioning, this cortisol is very, very important. Next one, glucocorticoids, particularly cortisol, produces anti-inflammatory reactions. That's why in many cases, to reduce the inflammation of some of these joints and all, they are actually giving the steroids like cortisol. Steroids like cortisol, please understand this, so that they are anti-inflammatory. Not only this, it will also suppress the immune responses. In some cases, to treat some of the things, we need to suppress our immune system. So in those cases, you can give this cortisol because it can also suppress the immune response. Next one, cortisol is also stimulating RBC production. Just now we studied about thyroid hormones that are involving in RBC production, and here they are saying that even cortisol is also helping in the RBC production. You need to link up all these things at one location, but anyhow at the end of this particular lecture I have made a list of it. I will tell you. Next one, with this cortisol part is completed. Now mineralocorticoid aldosterone, already in the excretory production elimination we studied this. It acts mainly at the renal tubules and stimulates reabsorption of Na plus and water. So aldosterone is helping in reabsorption of Na plus and water, so that blood volume will increase, blood pressure will increase. This is what they are saying. And excretion of K plus and phosphate ions. So these are excreted. Thus, aldosterone helps in the maintenance of electrolyte and body fluid volume and osmotic pressure and blood pressure. So, all these will be maintained because of this one. And small amounts of androgenic steroids means dehydroepiandrosterone, I said, no, that's what they are talking. So some small androgenic steroids are also secreted by adrenal cortex, which play a role in growth of axial hair. Axial hair means it is the hair that is grown in the armpits. Next one, pubic hair. So this is the hair that is grown around these genitals. And then facial hair means mustache and beard and all. So during the puberty. So these are the functions of these particular hormones. So with this, regarding the adrenal gland, it is completed. Now we are going with the pancreas. So pancreas is a composite gland. Composite gland, it is also called as a mixocrine gland. Why it is composite or mixocrine? Because pancreas is having both exocrine and endocrine. Endocrine part is producing hormones, but exocrine part is producing the enzymes, and these enzymes are related with the digestion of the food. But anyhow, the digestion and absorption chapter is deleted, so you don't know much about these things. But in the regular videos, not in this revision, so in the regular videos, I made just 2 videos for digestion and absorption, even though it is deleted, because some of these interlinked parts I have discussed in the regular video. But anyhow, for that you need to take the subscription and all. So anyhow, now let us continue with this revision part. So pancreas is a composite gland because it is having both exocrine and endocrine. That's why it is called a composite gland. It is also called as a mixocrine gland. It is having both parts, and which acts as both exocrine and endocrine parts, glands. The endocrine pancreas, endocrine part. So please remember, this is what you are talking, and these are the acinar cells. Exocrine pancreas is having acinar cells, and from these acinar cells again ducts will be there, and these ducts will combine and they will make the pancreatic duct, and this pancreatic duct will combine with the bile duct, and this common hepatopancreatic duct will open into the duodenum. That is a different case, and in this way enzymes are released. But we are focusing on endocrine part. In the endocrine part, you are talking about alpha cells, beta cells and delta cells. This is what they are talking. Alpha cells are producing glucagon, and beta cells are producing insulin, and delta cells are producing somatostatin. Actually, here they are talking only about glucagon and insulin, but somatostatin. Once already we studied somatostatin, that somatostatin from hypothalamus. Second somatostatin, here you are talking, that is with respect to pancreas. Remember this. At the end, all the 3 somatostatins at once I will tell you once again. Okay, now we will talk about this. What is the function of alpha cells? They are producing the glucagon. We will study the function separately. And beta cells, they are producing the insulin. That function also we will see separately. But what is the function of this somatostatin produced by pancreas? And this will stop the production of glucagon, insulin and these particular enzymes. Understood or not? So this somatostatin helps in the inhibition of glucagon, insulin and these particular enzymes of pancreas. So in this way, here also it is inhibitory function. In the hypothalamus somatostatin, that is the growth hormone, inhibitory hormone. They are also inhibiting, but inhibiting their growth hormone. These are the functions of these things. Simply we will read this particular part. The endocrine pancreas consists of islets of Langerhans. These are called as islets of Langerhans. Sorry. There are about 1 to 2 million islets of Langerhans. This is just one. Like this, 1 to 2 million Langerhans, islets of Langerhans are present in a normal human pancreas. So that is representing only 1 to 2% of the pancreatic tissue. So even though these many are present in the entire pancreatic tissue, if you see all these things combined, they will contribute just 1 to 2% only. That's what they are saying. And the 2 main types of the cells that are seen in the islets of Langerhans are alpha and beta cells. Alpha cells will produce a hormone. Which hormone? It is a peptide hormone called as glucagon, while beta cells are producing another peptide hormone that is called as insulin. But delta cells are producing somatostatin. Try to remember that one also. Clear? Next one, what is the function of glucagon? Glucagon main function is to increase the blood glucose levels. How it will increase the blood glucose levels? It will cause the glycogen breakdown, glycogenolysis, so that ultimately blood glucose levels will be increased. And exactly opposite function will be for the insulin. In simple, I am trying to tell you. Later on I will read these lines. What insulin is doing? If the blood glucose levels are very high, it will remove the blood glucose levels so that it will help in take up of the blood glucose by the cells, and excess glucose will be converted into glycogen. So in this way, these two are acting exactly opposite to each other. Remember? So now this information, now we need to come in with our original condition. Suppose we are eating the food. After eating the food, now in the digestive system, now food will be digested. The digested food will be absorbed into the blood. When the digested food is absorbed into the blood, now the blood glucose levels will increase all of a sudden. All of a sudden, now blood glucose levels will increase. Now insulin will be released. Because of the insulin release, what happens? Now the blood glucose will be, now it will be taken by the cells, and excess glucose will be stored by the liver and also by the skeletal muscle cells, and even by the adipose cells also, adipose tissue, right, fat tissue. So this is what happening. So after some time, what happens? These high levels of blood glucose will come back to normal. It is keep on happening normal, and from that normal also cells are keep on utilizing. So when cells are keep on utilizing, now the blood glucose levels are going below than the required. Now what happens? Insulin release will be stopped, and now glucagon will be released. Now glucagon release, what it will do? It will cause the breakdown of the glycogen. So again blood glucose level come back to normal. So in this way, if excess glucose is there, insulin will cause the removal of it. If lesser glucose levels are there, now glucagon will bring it back to the normal. So in this way they are acting opposite to each other. This is what the simple thing is. So in this way, hypoglycemic, hyperglycemic, if you are talking, glucagon is increasing the blood glucose level, so it is hyperglycemic, and insulin is decreasing the blood glucose, so it is hypoglycemic hormone. So these names you can use it. Now quickly we will read these sentences. Glucagon is a peptide hormone. It is made up of some amino acids, and it plays an important role in maintaining the normal blood glucose levels. It is helping in the maintenance of blood glucose levels. So glucagon acts mainly on the liver cells. Liver cells are called hepatocytes. Why they are specifically talking about this liver cells? Because please remember, this conversion of glucose to glycogen is taking place in two locations. One is the liver, other one is skeletal muscle cell. And the excess glucose will be directly taken by the adipocytes, so that will be used for fat production. So in this way, now glucagon is acting mainly on the liver cells called hepatocytes, and it is stimulating glycogenolysis, glycogen breakdown. When glycogen is broken, and what happens? Glucose will be released, resulting in increased blood sugar. Increased blood sugar means actually whatever is the required, below that it has gone. So from this it is increased to the normal. This is what they are saying. In addition, this hormone stimulates the process of gluconeogenesis, glucose new synthesis from other sources, because ultimately blood glucose should be maintained. That's why. And which also contributes to hyperglycemia. So because of this one also hyperglycemia will occur. Glucagon reduces cellular glucose uptake and utilization. This is what they are saying. Thus, glucagon is hyperglycemic hormone. It will help in increasing the blood glucose levels. Now insulin is exactly opposite. Insulin is a peptide hormone which plays a major role in the regulation of glucose homeostasis. This is also helping in glucose maintenance. Insulin acts mainly on the hepatocytes and adipocytes. Adipocytes are the cells of adipose tissue, and enhances cellular glucose uptake. So cells are keep on taking the glucose and they are utilizing them. And as a result, there is a rapid movement of glucose from the blood to hepatocytes and adipocytes. So that means what happens? Blood glucose levels will decrease, resulting in decrease in blood glucose levels. That's why it will lead to hypoglycemia. So when compared with that particular condition, glucose levels are keep on decreasing. That's why hypoglycemia. And insulin also stimulates conversion of glucose to glycogen. So excess glucose will be converted into glycogen. So it is called as glycogenesis, glycogen synthesis in the target cells. What are the target cells? Liver is the target cell, skeletal muscle is the target cell. These are the target cells. Next one, the glucose homeostasis in the blood is thus maintained jointly by the two hormones. What are these? Insulin and glucagon. These are the major things. Not only this, glucocorticoids of adrenal cortex, they are also helping in glucose homeostasis. So if you are talking about glucose homeostasis, all these things will come together. Anyhow, at the end of this particular video, I made a separate slide. There I will tell you. Next one, prolonged hyperglycemia will leads to complex disorder called as diabetes mellitus. So here this is mainly due to what? Less production or no production of insulin. Less or no production of insulin means what happens? The blood glucose levels are keep on like this only, high only. So keep on high means now what happens? Now this excess glucose in the blood, now it will be excreted through the urine. So now it will cause the diabetes mellitus. This is what they are saying. So in this way, which is associated with loss of glucose through the urine, okay, glucoseuria, glucose release through the urine, glucose-urea, and formation of harmful compounds like ketone bodies. So now this excess glucose, now it will be converted into some ketone bodies. What are the names of ketone bodies? They have not given, but there are three types of ketone bodies. What are these? Acetone. Acetone is the one thing. Next one, beta hydroxy butyrate is the second thing, and the third one is acetone. Okay, third one is the acetone. So these are the three very harmful ketone bodies that are produced because of excess glucose in the blood. Clear? This is what they are saying. Next one, diabetic patients are successfully treated with insulin therapy because their main problem is insulin is not present here. Okay, so in this way, if we are giving the insulin, now again blood glucose levels will be decreased. Anyhow, this information you know, and this regarding this diabetes mellitus, insulin hormone structure, A chain, B chain, all these things again you need to link up with biotechnology applications chapter. Yes or no? You need to do the interlinking, then only you will understand. It's okay. Next one we are going with testis part. So now up to this pancreas is completed. Now when we are talking about the testis, while we are writing spelling, TESTIS testis is singular. If you want to write the plural, TESTES, instead of I, if you are writing E, that will indicate the plural. So please observe this. So with respect to singular, we are talking here, total two testes will be present. They are present within the scrotal sac, and this scrotal sac is present outside the abdominal cavity. General basic information they have given here. Anyhow, more details regarding this we studied in human reproduction chapter. So that's why here, for understanding of this, how much is required, only that much I will tell you. Now, a pair of testes is present in the scrotal sac. So, scrotal sac. Now, scrotal sac is divided into two. Now, in each part, now one testis will be present, and the scrotal sac is present outside the abdomen in the case of the male individual. Please remember, these are the reproductive organs. So, these are the primary reproductive organs that are present within the male individual. Okay, next one. Testis performs dual functions. It is a primary sex organ, and as well as it is an endocrine gland. It itself is a primary sex organ. It is involving in the production of the gametes called as the sperm cells, and not only this, it is also releasing some hormones. What are these hormones? That Leydig cells, interstitial cells, they are producing some androgens, right? That's what they are saying. Okay, next one. Testis is composed of seminiferous tubules. Seminiferous tubules are present, and like this, many seminiferous tubules are there. Suppose this is one seminiferous tubule. Here is one seminiferous tubule. Between this also some cells are there, and these cells are called as stromal cells. They are also called as Leydig cells. They are also called as interstitial cells. Different names are there. You need to know all these names. So testis is composed of seminiferous tubules. This is the seminiferous tubules. Inside the seminiferous tubules, you are observing the spermatogonium, and then you are observing this Sertoli cells, and then this spermatozoa formation. Everything is happening inside the seminiferous tubules. And stromal or interstitial tissue. What is the stromal tissue? Between two such type of seminiferous tubules, there are some cells, and these cells will form this stromal tissue or interstitial tissue, and these cells are called as interstitial cells, also called as Leydig cells. Leydig cells. Okay, it is Leydig, but while pronouncing we need to pronounce it as Leydig. Okay, it is a German name. These are the Leydig cells, and which are present in the intertubular spaces, between the tubules. What are these tubules? Seminiferous tubules. This is one seminiferous tubule, here is one seminiferous tubule. Between this they are present, that's why they are called intertubular spaces. And these Leydig cells or interstitial cells produce group of hormones called as androgens. Here also there is a big list of androgens are there, but major one that we are talking is the testosterone. It is the testosterone that is produced by the Leydig cells. But for this particular production again, you need to interlink this one. This is the information, right? So here, gonadotropin releasing hormone. From the hypothalamus, gonadotropin releasing hormone is produced. That is acting on the pituitary. From the pituitary, FSH and LH are released, and now they are acting on this particular gonads. Observe carefully here. FSH is helping in spermatogenesis. Even the androgens are also helping in spermatogenesis. But regarding the LH function, you just observe carefully in the males. Secretion of androgens, that is testosterone from the Leydig cells. That means LH from pituitary gland is acting on this Leydig or interstitial cells, so that Leydig or interstitial cells present within the testis are producing this particular testosterone. Anyhow, here you are studying only this, but the relation also you need to understand. This is what I am saying. So that's what they are saying here. Next one, androgens. What is the function of these androgens? They will regulate the development, maturation and functions of male accessory sex organs. Primary sex organs are the testes. Remaining all related to the reproductive system will come under accessory organs like epididymis, vas deferens, seminal vesicles, prostate gland, urethra, etc. All these things, development, maturation, all these things will be under the control of these particular androgens. These hormones stimulate muscular growth. That's why generally males are having more muscle percentage when compared with the females, and growth of the facial hair, axillary hair and aggressiveness that we are observing in the males is due to mainly androgens. Next one, low pitch voice. Please observe, males are having low pitch voice, whereas the females will have high pitch voice. So please observe this. Generally students are thinking reverse. It is not like this. Males are having low pitch voice, females will have high pitch voice. Please observe carefully. Next one, androgens play major stimulatory role in the process of spermatogenesis. Anyhow, follicle stimulating hormone from the pituitary is important. Along with this, now the androgens from these Leydig cells are also very important for the spermatogenesis. So it is simply the process of formation of spermatozoa. More details with individual names and everything, with more details we will study in the human reproduction chapter. Here I don't want to go into those details. Next one, androgens act on the central neural system. They are acting even on the central nervous system, and they are influencing the male sexual behavior. It is also called as a libido. Okay. Next one, these hormones produce anabolic means synthesis, catabolic means breakdown, anabolic means synthesis. They are producing anabolic synthetic effects on the protein and carbohydrate metabolism. That means they are helping in protein synthesis, protein anabolism and carbohydrate anabolism, carbohydrate synthesis. This is what they are saying. Now we are talking about the ovaries. These are present within the female individual. Here what they are saying. So females have a pair of ovaries that are located in the abdomen. So within the abdomen they are present. Please remember, testes are present outside the abdomen within the scrotal sac. But here ovaries are present inside the abdomen. Very important for examination. So remember this. Anyhow, in human reproduction we studied this. Ovary is the primary female sex organ which produces one ovum during each menstrual cycle. Even though two ovaries are present, in each menstrual cycle only one ovum will be produced. That's what they are saying. In addition, ovary also produces two groups of steroid hormones. Ovary is also producing some steroid hormones. What are these? Estrogen and progesterone. Please remember, many students are thinking that FSH and LH are steroid. No, FSH and LH are produced from the pituitary. They are peptide hormones. But these hormones, estrogens, progesterone, they are produced by the ovary. They are steroid hormones. And in the case of the male, the testis is producing androgens. They are steroid hormones. So please observe carefully. So ovary is producing estrogen and progesterone. Ovary is composed of ovarian follicles and stromal tissues. So in the case of ovary, if you are observing, so some ovarian follicles are present. And between the ovarian follicles, stromal cells, stromal tissue is present. This is what they are saying. The estrogen is produced and secreted mainly by the growing ovarian follicles. Growing ovarian follicles. So ovarian follicles are growing. Primordial follicle is developing into primary follicle, then into secondary follicle, then into tertiary follicle, then into Graafian follicle. In this way they are developing. So these developing follicles, they are secreting this estrogen. This is what the sentence and its meaning. After ovulation, the ruptured follicle is converted into a structure called as corpus luteum. After the ovulation, the Graafian follicle is developing into corpus luteum. This is what they are saying. And this corpus luteum secretes the hormone called as a progesterone. Yes or no? This is what the information they gave. Each and every point with more details already we studied under human reproduction chapter, right? So that's why I'm not going into those details. So please remember this. So here once again, you just understand the relation between FSH and LH. Yes or no? So here up to here, in the case of females, FSH is involving in growth of ovarian follicles. FSH is involving in growth of ovarian follicles, and growing ovarian follicles are releasing estrogen. Understood or not? Next one. LH, in the case of females, it is helping in the ovulation from Graafian follicle and maintenance of corpus luteum. And the corpus luteum is producing progesterone. These are the points that you need to interlink here. Is it clear? This is what the point is. Now come to the next paragraph. Estrogens produce wide-ranging actions such as stimulating the growth and activities of female secondary sex organs. Female secondary sex organ, female primary sex organs are ovaries. And remaining things like fallopian tube, also called as oviduct, uterus, cervix, vagina, all these things will come under secondary sex organs. So their development will be under the control of these estrogens. Next one, development of growing ovarian follicles, ovarian follicle growth and development, and appearance of female secondary sex characters like high pitch voice is the female character, all these things, and also mammary gland development, breast development and all. So all these are under the control of estrogens, and estrogens also regulate female sexual behavior. So this is what, okay. So this is the information related to estrogens. Now we will talk about the progesterone. Progesterone supports the pregnancy. Okay, that's why the corpus luteum will be maintained during the pregnancy. Okay, if there is no fertilization of the ovum by the sperm cell, now the corpus luteum will degenerate and it will become corpus albicans. So in this way, progesterone will support progesterone that is produced from the corpus luteum, so that is actually supporting the pregnancy. Next one, progesterone also acts on the mammary glands and it is also stimulating the formation of alveoli. Please remember alveoli three locations. Three locations we are studying the alveoli item. One is alveoli of the lungs. Sac-like structures seen in the lungs, they are called alveoli, but they are different type. But here what are the alveoli? Here also alveoli are the sac-like structures that are present within the mammary gland. These are also called as alveoli. But there is a third one that at the end I will tell you, that is with respect to the tooth. But anyhow, once again the digestive system part is deleted, so you don't know, but simply I will show you that in the diagram, okay. But here also they are using the term called alveoli and also milk secretion. Clear? This is what they are saying. Anyhow, in the human reproduction chapter, very clearly we studied about the mammary gland and everything. There also we have covered this alveoli information, but quickly, simply I will show you the diagram once again. Clear? With this organized endocrine glands information is completed. Now along with this, there are some diffused cells, they are also producing some hormones. Here also some of the information already we studied in different other chapters. Let us quickly go through this. Now you know about the endocrine glands and the other endocrine glands and their hormones. However, so till now we studied about organized endocrine glands and the hormones. Now we are talking about some diffused ones. However, as mentioned earlier, hormones are also secreted by some tissues which are not endocrine glands. They are not organized endocrine glands. They are simply some tissues and cells. They are secreting these particular hormones. For example, atrial wall of our heart secretes a very important peptide hormone called as atrial natriuretic factor. Atrial natriuretic factor is a peptide hormone. Atrial natriuretic factor under excretion chapter we studied under regulation, right? So when the blood volume is more, atrial natriuretic factor is produced. Natrium means sodium, uretic, loss of water. So sodium and water, excess sodium and water will be lost, so that blood volume will be decreased, so that blood pressure will be maintained. Already we studied this. Same thing they are saying here. That is a hormone. Yes or no? And which decreases the blood pressure. And when blood pressure is increased, then atrial natriuretic factor is secreted from atria, and which cause the dilation of the blood vessels, so that and blood pressure will be decreased. Not only this, loss of the sodium and water will be happening, so that the ultimately blood volume will be decreased, so that blood pressure will be decreased. And in this way it decreases the blood pressure. That's it. Already we studied this one. Second one, they are talking with respect to the kidney, juxtaglomerular apparatus. Already we studied one hormone, renin. Yes or no? Renin hormone, renin, angiotensin, aldosterone system. Already we studied. That is, renin is a hormone. Now here they are talking another hormone. This is called erythropoietin. Suppose I am living at a normal sea level condition. So I will be having so and so number of RBC, and for these conditions they are enough. Suppose all of a sudden I am climbing the mountain. Okay, all of a sudden I am climbing the mountain. So when I am climbing the mountain, then what happens? On the mountain, since see, when the height increases from the sea level, so atmospheric oxygen partial pressure will decrease. That means in simple, oxygen levels in the atmospheric air will decrease. So when atmospheric oxygen levels in the atmospheric air are decreasing, now my body will face a condition called as hypoxia. Tissue hypoxia. Within the tissue, oxygen levels are decreased. This is called tissue hypoxia. Then what happens? So if the oxygen levels are less in the tissue, now that is not good for health. Now how my body will cope up with the condition? Now observe carefully here. When the tissue oxygen levels are decreased, now from the kidney means juxtaglomerular apparatus will release a hormone called as erythropoietin. And this erythropoietin released from the kidneys will act on the bone marrow. From the bone marrow now RBCs are produced. That's why when compared with the sea level, the people who are living on the high altitude like mountains, they will have more number of RBC in the normal condition itself. What is the use of increased RBC number? Already atmospheric oxygen levels are less. Even though oxygen levels are less, if we have more RBC means more hemoglobin, then even though atmospheric oxygen levels are less, even from that less also maximum oxygen can be taken by our system, and that oxygen will be supplied. That is the reason why RBC count will increase. Understood or not? And this is what the relation between erythropoietin, tissue hypoxia, and maintenance of the oxygen inside the body. You need to understand this. So in this way, this is also involving in formation of the RBC. So erythropoietin, in that RBC formation list, I forgot to write this one. We will add this one also. So please remember this. Next one. Not only this, there are some endocrine cells here, individual cells. They are present in different parts of gastrointestinal tract. Gastro means stomach, intestine means so in the stomach and intestine part there are some cells. They are also releasing some hormones. That's what they are saying. Four important examples are gastrin, secretin, cholecystokinin, and gastric inhibitory peptide. Four hormones. And in this first one, they are saying about the gastrin, stomach. With respect to stomach, you can easily understand this. Gastrin acts on the gastric glands in the stomach, and stimulates the secretion of hydrochloric acid, HCl. HCl is very, very important. And along with this, pepsinogen. Pepsinogen is, gen means it is inactive. Pepsinogen will be activated in presence of HCl into pepsin, and this pepsin is useful for protein digestion. These basic important points already I covered in the extra lectures, but they are available only in the regular course. Okay, they are not available in that free videos. Please observe carefully. Next one, this is about the gastrin. Next one is secretin. Secretin acts on the exocrine pancreas. In the pancreas, exocrine, endocrine parts are there. Exocrine part is producing the enzymes, and also it is releasing bicarbonate water and all these things. Yes or no? So in this way, secretin is acting on the exocrine part of the pancreas, so that it is stimulating secretion of water and bicarbonates from the exocrine part of the pancreas. What is the use of this bicarbonate? And please remember, this pancreatic secretion is released into the duodenum, which is the initial part of the intestine. From the stomach, acidic part is coming. That acidic part should be neutralized. So we need bicarbonates. That's why this bicarbonate and water are released into this intestine. That is the duodenum part. Clear? Anyhow, the chapter is not deleted. It is not there now. So that's why these basic information, logical things only. In just 2 lectures, I have covered majority of the content. So those who are interested, you can go through. That's why repeatedly I am saying you regarding the tissues, regarding the digestion and absorption. At least some important points are there. At least such type of things, they are interlinked with various chapters. At least these basic points you need to understand. So that's why I have covered all these things in that particular video. So better go through this. Next one, cholecystokinin. Cholecystokinin acting on both pancreas and the gallbladder. So what is the action on the pancreas? What it will do? It will stimulate the secretion of pancreatic enzymes. There are different types of pancreatic enzymes I have mentioned in those videos. I don't want to go again. And by acting on the gallbladder, it will cause the release of bile juice. So in this way, these two will be released into the duodenum. This is what they are saying. Next one, gastric inhibitory peptide. In the name itself, you can understand. So this inhibits gastric secretion and mobility. So it is inhibiting the secretion of these hormones. So this is what the function of these particular 4 hormones. Several other non-endocrine tissues also secreting the hormones, and they are simply called as some growth factors. They are given the name as growth factors, and these factors are essential for normal growth of the tissues and their repairing and regeneration. So in this way, these are also technically hormones, but the name given as different types of growth factors. In higher classes you will study about this. So with this, these are also particular things is also completed. And here I wanted to tell you one more name. Please remember once again the somatostatin. Somatostatin name we studied with respect to hypothalamus. Somatostatin we studied with respect to pancreas. Now there is one more somatostatin with respect to this gastrointestinal tract. And there also it is inhibiting the release of various hormones like gastrin and secretin and all these things. Clear? In this way, 3 locations you are talking about this somatostatin. So somatostatin produced by hypothalamus is actually inhibiting the release of growth hormone from pituitary. Next one, somatostatin by the pancreas is inhibiting the secretion of insulin and glucagon. At least this much you please remember. And somatostatin produced by gastrointestinal tract is inhibiting the gastrin and secretin function. These are the 3 things. Clear? Over. Next one, androgenic steroids. Androgenic steroids, they are produced by the adrenal cortex. Adrenal cortex is producing the androgenic steroids, and even the testes are also producing the androgenic steroids. This is the information. Next one, regarding the stimulation of RBC production by the thyroid hormones. Thyroid hormones are stimulating RBC production. Even melatonin is also involving in RBC production. Even cortisol is also stimulating RBC production. And fourth one, you just add it, erythropoietin from the kidneys. Erythropoietin from the kidneys is also involving in the RBC production, right? Write all these things. You need to write somewhere, then only you can understand, or else you will make some mistakes. Next one, regarding the pigmentation. Who will stimulate the pigmentation? Melanocyte stimulating hormone produced from the pituitary. Anyhow, it is involved in the pigmentation. Not only this, even the melatonin from pineal gland. Melatonin from pineal gland is also involving in pigmentation. Next one is regarding the metabolism. So in the normal metabolism, all these hormones are involving in the normal metabolism only. But mainly if you are talking, thyroid hormones are involving in maintenance of basal metabolic rate. This is very, very important. Not only this, melatonin is also playing some significant role in the controlling the metabolism. So these are also very clearly mentioned. But anyhow, in general, if you see, all the hormones are helping in some are the other metabolism of the various things. Next one, with respect to menstrual cycle. With respect to menstrual cycle, very clearly mentioned that melatonin is also involving here. And follicle stimulating hormone, luteinizing hormone, estrogen, all these things are again related to this menstrual cycle only. And not only this, even thyroid hormones are also very important, because hypothyroidism in the adult female is causing irregular menstrual cycle, they have mentioned. So that's why these are the some points that are related to this menstrual cycle information. Next one, water and electrolyte balance if you are observing. So thyroid hormones are involving here. Adrenal cortex. Adrenal cortex means what are involved here? Mineralocorticoids are involved here. Not only this, antidiuretic hormone, that is also called as vasopressin, that is released from pituitary gland, that is also involving in water and electrolyte balance. Next one, regarding the calcium balance if you are talking, thyrocalcitonin, that is involving in actually decreasing the blood calcium levels, whereas parathormone or parathyroid hormone, this is actually helping in increasing the calcium levels. So these two are acting in opposite in action, and they are helping in calcium balance. So this information also you need to understand. Next one, with respect to glucose balance if you are talking, definitely insulin, glucagon are very, very important. They are produced from pancreas. Not only this, glucocorticoids produced from adrenal cortex, they are also helping in glucose homeostasis, glucose metabolism, right? So that's why this is also one important point that you need to remember. Next one is regarding the term alveoli, where we have studied about the term alveoli. With respect to the lungs, we studied sac-like structures, they are called alveoli there. Not only this, in the case of the mammary gland, here also we studied some sac-like structures. Here also they are called as alveoli. And here there is a third one, but actually it is not there in NCRT. If you are talking about the jaw bone, it is called as alveolar bone. Actually here it is having some sockets where these roots of this particular tooth can be fixed, and these sockets are also called as alveoli. So in this way the term alveoli is used in different locations. Spelling is same only, but according to the use you need to understand what exactly they are talking. Clear? So please understand this. Next one. So with this basic information is completed. Now we are talking about the mechanism of hormone action. So here we are talking about mainly two types of hormones. First, what I will do is I will give you the basic idea, then I will go with NCRT content, then you will understand this. Actually here there are two types of hormones. First type are called as peptide hormones. First type are called as peptide hormones. Second type are called as steroid hormones. For both of them in NCRT they have given the mechanism. I will explain you the mechanism first, then we will read NCRT sentences, then it will be easy for you. Now how exactly this movement will be decided? Movement of these hormones in the target organs. Now observe very carefully. This is the plasma membrane. Very clearly in the cell chapter we studied that one membrane is having two layers, phospholipid bilayer. This is one layer of phospholipids, this is other layer of phospholipids. Clear? Now in this phospholipid bilayer, if you are observing, the maximum thickness is by the tails. Tails will contribute the maximum thickness. Please remember this one. Yes or no? And what is the nature of these tails? These tails are hydrophobic. hydrophobic. Yes or no? That is lipophilic. This term you don't need to use here. Directly they are lipids, so that's why you don't need to use it. But lipophilic molecules or hydrophobic molecules, they can easily pass through this. But what about the head part? These are the head parts. These are the head parts, and this is hydrophilic. Hydrophilic. This you can call it as lipophobic. Lipophobic. I am writing this with a purpose, so that's why please observe carefully. So here what we are saying, these are the phospholipids. In the phospholipids, there are two tails and one head is present, and the tails are hydrophobic in nature because generally they are having saturated or unsaturated fatty acids. Generally saturated are there, even unsaturated are also there. In the cell chapter very clearly I told you why they are there, everything I told you. So this is how they are there. And the head portion is actually related to the main glycerol backbone and plus phosphate group. Phosphate group plus main glycerol backbone. Very clearly in the biomolecules we studied all these things. So this is what about the head part is for the normal phospholipid. Okay, phosphodiglyceride type of phospholipid. This is what the basic structure is. But majority of the portion of the membrane is occupied by the tails. So maximum thickness is by the tails. So hydrophobic. So now the point is, suppose this is a molecule. Suppose this is a molecule. Now this molecule has to go into the cell. So how it will go? And what is the property that will decide how exactly it will go? So please observe this one. If this molecule is hydrophobic molecule or lipophobic molecule or simply a steroid molecule. Steroids are what? Hydrophobic, right? So if this molecule is a neutral molecule or steroid molecule or hydrophobic or lipophilic molecule, then what happens? Major thickness is what? Hydrophobic only. This is also hydrophobic only. Then what happens? It can directly pass through the membrane. Please observe carefully. It is the nature of the molecule. It is the nature of the molecule that we need to observe. If this molecule is hydrophobic, it can directly pass through the plasma membrane. If this molecule is hydrophilic molecule, if it is hydrophilic molecule, it cannot directly pass through plasma membrane. It cannot directly pass through plasma membrane. Please observe carefully. If it has to pass through plasma membrane, it should have the channel. It should have a channel or pump something, some membrane protein should be there. Then only it can enter into the cell. This is the basic logical concept that we need to understand here. Clear? So based on this, we are classifying hormones into two types. We are classifying hormones into two types. Peptide hormones, steroid hormones. Now we will write all the hypothalamic hormones, hypothalamic hormones, hypothalamic hormones, hypothalamic hormones, pituitary hormones, pituitary hormones, and then thymus, thymus hormones. Thymus is producing some thymus, right? So it is also producing some hormones, peptide hormones, very clearly mentioned. They will come here. Whereas thyroid hormones like T3, T4 will come under this group. They will come under the steroid hormone group. Please remember this. And next, what are the major other things? Adrenal medullary hormones. Adrenal medullary hormones means what? Epinephrine or epinephrine will come under this group. But adrenal cortex hormones, adrenal corticoids, adrenal cortex hormones are steroid hormones, right? Aldosterone, cortisol, dehydroepiandrosterone, all these things are steroid hormones. So they all will come under that group. Yes or no? Next one, with respect to testis, if you are talking. So testis, if you are talking, so here what will come? So androgens will come. Androgens will come. And with respect to ovary, if you are talking, now here what will come? Estrogen will come. Estrogen will come. Progesterone will come. Progesterone will come. Do you have to understand this? So in this way, all these will come here. Okay. And remaining things will come here. So adrenal means here epinephrine, norepinephrine. Epinephrine or, so in simple I am writing all these things. So in this way we are classifying these things. Clear? So in this way, if you are talking, so these are the ones that are coming under steroid hormones. Remaining all the hormones, majority of the hormones are coming under the peptide hormone group. So in this way, in the hormone action also, in the NCERT they give two diagrams. Why they gave two diagrams? Because some are of this type, some are of this type, that's it. So that's why two types of hormone action mechanisms are there. Now you just observe carefully. Now what is the major basic important point? What is the nature of these peptide hormones? All these hormones are of peptide hormone type, or if you are talking about these are amino acid derivatives. But whatever it is, these are hydrophilic in nature. Hydrophilic in nature. The nature of these hormones is hydrophilic in nature. But these are all steroid type hormones, and actually T3, T4 are actually these are also amino acid derivative only. Actually they are derived from some amino acid, but iodine will be there. But their action is like steroid hormones. That's why I have written under this group. But please remember, all these are coming under steroid type. Steroid type means what? These are hydrophilic or phobic? Hydrophobic in nature. Hydrophobic in nature. This is the basic point that you need to catch from these particular differences. So those which are hydrophilic, those hormones which are hydrophilic in nature, how they will act? What is the mechanism of action? And those which are hydrophobic in nature, what is the mechanism of action? Now I will tell you in just 1 minute. Observe carefully. Suppose this is the plasma membrane. This is the plasma membrane. But here what happens? Here these are, suppose this is the molecule. This is a hydrophobic molecule. Just now I told you, no? If it is hydrophobic molecule, it can easily pass through the plasma membrane. So that's why here it can easily pass through the plasma membrane. So hormone entered into the cell. That's it. Simple. But here what you are saying, this is hydrophilic molecule. Hydrophilic molecule, it cannot pass through the directly. It cannot directly pass through the plasma membrane. So since it cannot directly pass through the plasma membrane, on the plasma membrane it has a receptor, and that's why it is called as a membrane receptor. So in this type of hormones, compulsorily on the target cell, this is the target cell, on the target cell a membrane receptor will be present. But in this case, inside the cell receptor is present. So here membrane receptor is present, but here intracellular, intra means inside, intracellular, inside the cell receptor is there. Inside the cell receptor is present. But here membrane receptor, which membrane? Plasma membrane receptor is present. Membrane receptor is present. This is the basic logic. This is what you need to notice from the NCERT diagrams. So now what happens? Now what happens? Now this hormone is binding to this receptor. Now once hormone is attached to the receptor, what happens? Hormone receptor complex is formed. But here hormone is entering into the cell. Now inside the cell, now it will bind with the receptor. So here also hormone receptor complex is produced. Here also hormone receptor complex, here also hormone receptor complex. But here the complex is present on the plasma membrane. But here the complex is present inside the cell. Inside the cell means where? It may be cytoplasm, it may be nucleus. In majority cases, it is the nucleus, but even cytoplasmic receptors are also there. If receptor is present in cytoplasm, ultimately it should go anyhow into the nucleus only. So it is going into the nucleus. If receptor is present in nucleus, no problem. Hormone will directly enter into nucleus. There itself it will bind with receptor. So in this way, hormone receptor complex is formed. Here also hormone receptor complex is formed. That's it. And then what happens? Then what happens is very important. And now here first I will tell you, this will be easy for you to understand. Here what happens is, this hormone receptor complex, now it will interact with the DNA present inside the cell. It will interact with DNA present inside the cell. In this DNA, there are some locations where this hormone receptor complex will interact, and this information I have covered under gene regulation in molecular base of inheritance. When we studied about the Lacoperon concept, there I have covered about this particular point. Those who are still having any doubt, so you can go through that particular video. So this hormone receptor complex is interacting with DNA so that it will affect gene expression. So from the gene RNA, from the RNA inside the cytoplasm, protein will be produced. Now this will show some effects. This will show some effects. In this way, if it is belonging to this group called as steroid hormone, since it is hydrophobic in nature, it is entering into the cell. It will bind with the receptor present either in cytoplasm or in the nucleus. If the receptor is in the cytoplasm, it will form hormone receptor complex here. Then hormone receptor complex will enter into the nucleus. Suppose receptor is present directly in the nucleus, there itself it will form hormone receptor complex, and now this hormone receptor complex will interact with the DNA so that it will control gene expression. Based on this, now various functions will be shown. In this way, hormone is controlling some activities of the cells, targeted cells. This is what the mechanism for steroid hormones. But if you are talking with respect to the peptide hormone is hydrophilic in nature. It cannot pass through the plasma membrane. So it will bind with a receptor that is present on the plasma membrane. So that hormone receptor complex is formed on plasma membrane itself. Then what happens? Since this hormone is not entering inside, but this interaction will generate a second molecule inside the cell. Inside the cell, a molecule is produced. It is called as a second messenger. Second messenger. Why it is called? Why this one is called second messenger? If this is second messenger, who is first messenger? Who is the first or primary messenger? Who is the first or primary messenger? Who is the first or primary messenger? Hormone itself is the primary messenger. In this case, hormone itself is the primary messenger, and its attachment to receptor will cause a generation of another messenger inside the cell. Until now, it has brought the information. Now, inside the cell, this is carrying the information. Messenger, right? Carrying information. So, now this is called as second messenger. What are the various examples of second messenger? Cyclic adenosine monophosphate. Calcium ions can act as second messenger. IP3, inositol 1,4,5 triphosphate, diacylglycerol, likewise many are there. Not only CAMP, cyclic GMP is also a second messenger. Regarding cyclic AMP, cyclic GMP second messengers, in the molecular basis of inheritance beginning, when we studied about nucleotides, there itself I told very clearly. So you can simply refer that particular part also, and these are acting as the second messengers. Clear? Anyhow, I will show you the diagram. So based on this, and now according to the hormone, different types of second messengers are dependent. Sorry, it all depends on the hormone, the type of hormone that is binding. Based on this, different type of second messenger. Now this second messenger will involve in some sequence of reactions. So finally, it will control some activities here. So in this way, hormones will reach the target cells, and there they will show the activity. This is what. So in this way, broadly these hormones are classified into two types. Based on this, their mechanism of action is different. Clear? This is the basic idea. So please try to remember this. Now I will link up with NCERT content. Simply I will read this. Just now we studied this. Hormones produce their effects on target tissues by binding to specific proteins called as receptors, hormone receptor, corresponding receptors. And these hormones and receptors are highly specific. You need to remember this. So they cannot randomly bind with anything. That's why every hormone has its own specific target only in some targeted cells. So that there only it will bind and there only it will show the activity. That's what they are saying. Hormone receptors, they are located on the target tissues only. Hormone receptors are present on the cell membrane of target cells, are called as membrane bound receptors, and this type of membrane bound receptors we are observing for protein peptide type of hormones. For them we are observing. And the receptors present inside the target cell are called intracellular receptors, and these we are observing for steroid type of hormones. We are observing this, and mostly these are nuclear receptors. Sometimes they can be cytosolic receptors also. For the intracellular they are talking. Clear? Binding of hormone to its receptor leads to formation of hormone receptor complex, and each receptor is specific to one particular hormone only. That means there is a specificity present between these two, and hence receptors are highly specific. Hormone receptor complex formation leads to certain biochemical changes in the target tissue. When these two means hormone and receptor are interacted, some changes will happen inside the target tissue. Anyhow, at this level we are not studying the internal details, but in higher classes you will study so many mechanisms for this one itself. This particular sentence itself is a separate big chapter, but here in simple they conclude it. That much is enough for us. Target tissue metabolism and hence physiological functions are regulated by the hormone. So in this way, every hormone, since receptors are present only in some target tissues, remaining tissues are not affected. So in this way, hormones will show some effects in the targeted tissues, and on the basis of their chemical nature, hormones can be divided into various groups. In the NCERT they give 4 groups. peptide, polypeptide protein hormones like insulin, glucagon, pituitary hormones, hypothalamic hormones. Just now I told the big list, right? All these will come under this group. Okay. Steroid hormones, cortisol, testosterone, estradiol, progesterone, all these things are steroid hormones. Mainly these are the two things based on the mechanism of action. Next, iodothioronins. So these are the thyroid hormones. But please remember, mechanism wise, iodothioronins will resemble steroid hormones. So whatever you are studying for steroid hormones, iodothioronins means T3, T4 also will come under this group only. Please remember this. Regarding amino acid derivatives like epinephrine, norepinephrine, all these things, they will again come with peptide hormone like action. Clear? This is what about the mechanism. Clear? So even the four types they gave, this is what. Now you please observe regarding the amino acid derivatives. This is the table already we discussed. Already we discussed in the biomolecules chapter. Epinephrine and norepinephrine produced from the adrenal medulla, they are actually derived from tyrosine amino acid. And the thyroxine T3 and T4. Thyroxine is the T4, and not only this T3. These are derived from follicular cells of the thyroid gland. They are also derived from tyrosine. And melatonin from the pineal gland, it is actually produced from the tryptophan. Clear? And please remember here, testosterone, estrogen, progesterone, all these things are steroid hormones. But follicular stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone are not steroid hormones. They are pituitary hormones. They are peptide hormones. Pituitary hormones, FSH and LH. They are peptide hormones. Don't make mistake. If you feel that you will make mistake, write these names here itself. Okay, don't make mistake. Very, very important. Next one. Hormones which interact with the membrane bound receptors means hydrophobic peptide hormone type action. Binding with the membrane bound receptors, normally they do not enter the target cell. They are not going into the target cell. Simply they are binding to receptor present on the plasma membrane. But they generate a second messenger. Since they cannot directly enter inside, the interaction of this receptor with the hormone, it is in turn generating a second messenger inside the cell. What are the different second messengers? Like cyclic adenosine monophosphate, cyclic guanosine monophosphate, CGMP, that is also second messenger. IP3, inositol 1,4,5 triphosphate, and calcium ions. And not only this, DAG, diacylglycerol. Glycerol having two fatty acids. This is also a different type of second messenger. In this way, different according to the type of hormone, different type of second messengers are produced, and which in turn regulates cellular metabolism. Now this second messenger will follow some sequence of reactions, so that it will, in this way it will control various activities of the cell. Hormones which interact with intracellular receptor means the second mechanism they are talking. So there what happens, it is like a steroid hormone, iodothioronins, all these things will come. They mostly regulate the gene expression. They are directly, hormone receptor complex is directly acting on gene level. At the gene level, it is controlling the gene expression or chromosome function by interaction with hormone receptor complex with the genome. Hormone receptor complex is interacting with the genome. So gene expression will be controlled there. So cumulative biochemical actions result in physiological and developmental effects. So in this way, overall, so you can see some effects because of the hormone action. Now please understand, in this case they are talking about follicle stimulating hormone. It is released from pituitary gland. It is a peptide hormone. It is a hydrophilic molecule. So it cannot pass through the plasma membrane. That's why it is binding to receptor present in the plasma membrane. Hormone receptor complex is in turn producing a second messenger. Based on the hormone, different type of second messengers are produced. And now they will take up the remaining things. So since it is a follicle stimulating hormone, it is helping in the ovarian growth. This, understood or not? This is what the final response is. This much is enough for your level at this class 11th and 12th. That's it. In higher classes, you will study exact mechanisms. Now, second type of hormone action, it is with respect to steroid hormone. Estrogen is a steroid hormone, hydrophobic in nature, so it can directly pass through plasma membrane. That's why here there is no plasma membrane receptor. It is going, and here the receptor is present in the nucleus. So hormone receptor complex is formed. This complex is interacting with the genome, so that from the genome, now here from the DNA, mRNA to protein. Now these proteins will show various activities. So estrogen, what is the activity here? Tissue growth and differentiation. It is helping in the tissue growth and differentiation. This is what they are talking. In this way, different hormones are showing different activities. Please try to focus yourself with respect to NCERT words. and how they are linked with different chapters. These are the points that you need to do very, very clearly. Clear? And not only this, summarize the information. Suppose they are talking about like RBC production. What are the different hormones that are related to that? In this way also, you just summarize the information. That type of information will be very, very useful, and it will give you some quick and very accurate answers in the examination. Clear? So in this way, so we have completed this particular one. With this, human physiology is completed. So in the next video we can meet with a different one, but once again I'm telling you, so these revision lectures are available both on Live Prep app and also on YouTube channel for free, but test series can be given only through the app. So with this it is completed. So we'll meet in the next lecture. Thank you.